Part 1. Therizinosaurus. Therizinosaurus emerged from the mists of the late Cretaceous approximately 70 to 75 million years ago, a creature whose enigmatic presence challenges the familiar image of the fearsome theropod. Its name, scythe lizard, pays homage to its colossal, gracefully curved claws, each nearly 3 feet long, crafted with apparent artistry rather than simple brute force. As you imagine these immense, elegantly arched appendages catching the soft glow of a fading prehistoric sun, let the thought of this giant evoke both wonder and calm, a reminder that nature's brilliance often lies in the delicate balance of form and function. Discovered in the ancient, windswept deserts of Mongolia and China, the fossil remains of Therizinosaurus have gradually revealed a narrative far removed from the typical carnivorous image of theropods. Instead of a beast of bloodthirst, this dinosaur appears to have led a more subtle existence. Scientists now propose that its enormous claws were used for plucking and stripping vegetation rather than for slashing through flesh. Consider the gentle rhythm with which it might have foraged among rare succulent plants in a harsh environment, where every tender leaf was a small miracle of survival, a quiet yet resolute act of life unfolding amidst vast, arid expanses. Its body, though seemingly at odds with its gigantic claws, was slender and surprisingly delicate, hinting at an adaptation that prioritized finesse over sheer power. The long neck and lightly built frame of Therizinosaurus suggest a creature designed for reaching high and low with graceful precision, possibly to access the choicest greenery scattered about an unforgiving landscape. Picture this dinosaur moving with deliberate, measured steps along ancient riverbanks and beneath a canopy of sparse yet resilient flora, as if dancing slowly to a timeless melody composed by the earth itself. Paleontologists have long been fascinated by the unique physiology of Therizinosaurus, and each new fossil discovery seems to write yet another line of an intricate poem about evolution's unpredictable artistry. Its combination of traits, a bony structure reminiscent of its more predatory kin, coupled with features that hint at an herbivorous lifestyle, invites us to reconsider the classic dichotomy between hunter and gatherer. Imagine a world in which even the mightiest claws belong not to a fierce killer, but to a gentle forager, each curved talon a tool for nurturing life rather than ending it, reinforcing the idea that strength and gentleness are not mutually exclusive. Modern scientific studies suggest that Therizinosaurus may once have been adorned with soft, downy feathers, an adaptation that provided insulation during cool desert nights and possibly added a touch of vibrancy to its appearance. Though the fossil record does not preserve every detail, these hints of plumage evoke a creature that was as striking in its softness as in its formidable claws. Envision Therizinosaurus wrapped in a subtle cloak of feathers, moving through the ancient world like a silent guardian whose enigmatic beauty is as mesmerizing as the starlit sky overhead, inviting you to reflect on how life can be both rugged and tender at once. The ancient habitat of Therizinosaurus was itself a masterpiece of contrasts, a terrain of sweeping deserts broken by occasional lush oases, where life clung tenaciously to every available drop of water and every patch of green. In this environment, each day brought the challenge of survival, yet the landscape was also imbued with an almost poetic stillness, as if nature were holding its breath in anticipation of a secret unfolding. As you let these images wash over your mind, imagine the soft rustling of ancient ferns and the distant murmur of wind over barren sands, a symphony of subtle sounds that accompany the quiet majesty of this remarkable dinosaur. The discovery of Therizinosaurus has reshaped our understanding of dinosaur behavior and ecology, urging scientists to see beyond conventional labels of predator and prey. Its delicate yet imposing claws, combined with a body adapted to a herbivorous diet, suggest a lifestyle that was not defined solely by aggression, but by a nuanced interplay of survival, growth, and adaptation. Reflect on the idea that this dinosaur may have moved with a kind of balletic grace, where each step was a quiet testament to life's capacity to evolve in unexpected ways, an eternal reminder that even nature's fiercest images can be softened by innovation. Even as we marvel at its physical grandeur, Therizinosaurus invites us to consider a deeper message about the nature of strength itself. Its very existence challenges us to question our preconceptions, revealing that power can reside in subtle adaptation, and that beauty often emerges from the most unconventional forms. The legacy of this dinosaur is not written solely in the bones it left behind, but in the legacy of quiet resilience and creative survival. It embodies encouraging us to embrace the idea that every creature, no matter how enigmatic, has its own story of quiet triumph. As the ancient light fades into a gentle twilight, allow the image of Therizinosaurus to remain in your mind, a creature both mysterious and majestic, whose quiet presence gently defies our expectations. Picture it standing under a vast starlit sky, its enormous claws delicately silhouetted against the soft glow of dusk, as if it were a guardian of memories from another time. In this serene moment, let the gentle whispers of the ancient world settle over you, guiding your thoughts into a peaceful, restorative sleep. May the soothing echoes of Therizinosaurus, its graceful form, its gentle foraging, and its story of subtle resilience, carry you into a deep, restorative slumber. Drift off with the thought that the natural world, in all its wondrous variety, holds a quiet beauty that is both timeless and transformative, just waiting to be rediscovered each time the stars begin to twinkle softly above. Let this ancient tale of forgotten giants and delicate strength lull your mind into a serene state, where dreams and the mysteries of the past merge into a peaceful, endless night. Part 2. Gasosaurus. Gasosaurus, a lesser-known theropod hailing from the Middle Jurassic of China, emerges from the mists of prehistory as a creature both elusive and intriguing. This small, agile dinosaur roamed ancient landscapes in an era when the Earth was still being sculpted by shifting climates and tectonic forces. Its fossils have been discovered among sedimentary layers rich with fossilized gases, hinting at the dramatic geological processes at work in its environment. As you imagine these distant plains under a hazy primordial sky, allow your mind to wander into a world where every grain of sand and every rustle of ancient vegetation is part of a quiet, timeless symphony, a gentle overture to the story of Gasosaurus. Unearthed in remote localities where the Earth's hidden treasures lie beneath layers of weathered rock, Gasosaurus has gradually unveiled its secrets to paleontologists and curious souls alike. The remains of this creature, though fragmentary in parts, reveal a dinosaur designed for nimble movement, with slender limbs perfectly adapted to darting through dense underbrush and along winding riverbeds. Researchers believe that its agile build suggests a lifestyle oriented around stealth and careful pursuit, rather than overwhelming its prey with brute force. Gasosaurus likely relied on speed and quiet cunning. As you picture this creature in your mind's eye, let the image of a sleek, silent hunter gliding through an ancient forest bring you to a state of calm and wonder. Detailed studies of Gasosaurus's anatomy have led scientists to uncover nuances that set it apart from more familiar, imposing theropods. Its elongated body and finely proportioned limbs hint at an animal that was not built for sheer power, but for refined, measured motion, the kind of movement that speaks of quiet determination. The structure of its skull, with delicately curved jawlines and a set of keen, well-adapted sensory organs, invite speculation about its hunting strategies and foraging behaviors. Imagine for a moment the gentle precision with which Gasosaurus might have maneuvered through its habitat, its steps light and calculated as it sought out the soft rustle of an unsuspecting prey or the subtle shift of a breeze through ancient ferns. In a world where many predators relied on raw strength and aggressive pursuit, Gasosaurus challenges us with its subtler approach to survival. Its slender frame and adaptable nature point to a creature that may have occupied a niche marked by both cautious stealth and rapid bursts of movement. Some scientists suggest that its refined build was an evolutionary response to an environment where agility and finesse were paramount, allowing Gasosaurus to slip between the shadows and avoid more formidable, larger carnivores. Envision a creature whose very essence is a whisper, a soft signature in the grand narrative of prehistory, one that reminds us that not all predators are defined by might, but sometimes by the delicate art of survival. The habitat in which Gasosaurus thrived was one of striking contrasts and hidden abundance. Vast, arid plains intermingled with pockets of lush, thriving vegetation created an environment of both stark beauty and challenging scarcity. Here, water was a precious commodity, and every oasis was a beacon of life in an otherwise harsh landscape. Gasosaurus adapted seamlessly to these extremes, its form a perfect complement to a world where survival depended on both speed and careful resource management. As you imagine ancient waterways cutting through sun-baked deserts and secret groves bursting with life, let the image of Gasosaurus navigating this complex terrain ease your mind and guide your thoughts to peaceful repose. Beyond its physical attributes, Gasosaurus is a symbol of nature's quiet ingenuity and resilience. Its evolutionary path, marked by delicate adaptations rather than overwhelming force, serves as a gentle reminder that life often finds a way through subtle change and quiet persistence. The mystery of how such a modestly built creature could thrive alongside larger, more aggressive dinosaurs invites us to appreciate the nuanced balance of prehistory. Consider the possibility that every evolutionary trait, every slender limb and alert eye, was part of an intricate dance of adaptation, allowing Gasosaurus to flourish in an ever-changing world. Observing Gasosaurus, one can sense the silent dialogue between creature and environment, a conversation held in the soft rustle of ancient winds and the slow passage of time. The clues embedded in its fossilized remains speak of an organism that navigated its world with understated elegance, moving effortlessly amid shifting light and shadow. This dance of survival was not marked by dramatic battles, but by quiet, almost poetic adjustments to the rhythm of its surroundings. As you let these thoughts settle, imagine a gentle melody playing in the background of a long-forgotten era, each note a reflection of Gasosaurus's subtle, enduring spirit. The story of Gasosaurus, though largely obscured by the passage of time, continues to resonate through the stone and soil of our planet. With every new fossil unearthed, researchers piece together the tapestry of its existence, a narrative of a small predator whose life was defined by agility, stealth, and a profound connection to an ancient landscape. Its legacy whispers across millennia, urging us to look beyond the traditional images of ferocious, oversized dinosaurs and instead embrace a more complex, tender tale of survival. In this quiet epic, Gasosaurus stands as a testament to the endless creativity of evolution and the soft power of adaptation. As you drift deeper into the calm of this narrative, allow your mind to be enveloped by the gentle imagery of Gasosaurus's world. Picture a serene twilight where every shadow and flicker of light tells the story of a creature that once moved gracefully across a land of extremes, a place where the harshness of the sun was balanced by the cool, inviting darkness of a desert night. Let the quiet mystery of Gasosaurus become a soothing lullaby, a soft refrain that guides you through the timeless corridors of ancient life, preparing your spirit for a deep, restorative rest. In these final moments of reflection on Gasosaurus's delicate legacy, embrace the comforting thought that nature's most profound strengths often lie in quiet resilience and subtle adaptation. As you settle into a peaceful slumber, let the whisper of this ancient creature remind you of the beauty and mystery woven into every corner of prehistory. The gentle rhythm of Gasosaurus's existence, intertwined with the vast forgotten landscapes it once called home, offers a haven of calm, a world where every whisper of the past is a promise of serenity. Drift off into sleep with these soft echoes of ancient life and awaken refreshed by the enduring secrets of our planet's earliest storytellers. Part 3. Pachyrhinosaurus. In the fading chapters of the Cretaceous, where golden light spilled across windswept plains and the silhouettes of strange giants crept silently beneath low-hanging conifers, a lesser-known creature moved with quiet resolve: Pachyrhinosaurus, the thick-nosed lizard. Unlike its more flamboyant cousins, such as Triceratops with its sharp horns and pronounced frill, Pachyrhinosaurus wore its uniqueness in subtler ways. Instead of long, piercing horns, it bore a massive bony boss across its nose, like a natural helmet fused into its skull. This feature alone makes it one of the most unusual ceratopsians ever discovered, and yet its story, soft and steady, echoes with its own quiet grandeur. The animal's powerful frame, wide beak, and ornate skull were not built for spectacle, but for endurance, cooperation, and adaptation in a world that was constantly in flux. The first fossils of Pachyrhinosaurus were unearthed in the icy grounds of Alberta, Canada, a stark, unexpected place to discover such a resilient dinosaur. The layers of rock that cradled its bones told tales of seasonal shifts, ancient floods, and ecosystems richer and more complex than we often imagine for these polar regions. Pachyrhinosaurus didn't just survive here, it thrived. Paleontologists believe this creature may have endured frigid winters, potentially migrating with herds, or developing thick skin and a strong metabolism to cope with the cold. Its remains have also been found in massive bone beds, where dozens of individuals seem to have perished together, possibly during a catastrophic flood or severe seasonal event. These fossils offer a moving glimpse into the communal lives of these ancient beasts, bound together by kinship and environment. That iconic nose boss, which replaced the more traditional horn structure of other ceratopsians, sparks curiosity even now. Some scientists speculate it may have been used in head-butting matches, much like modern bighorn sheep, a way of resolving disputes or asserting dominance without deadly consequences. Others suggest it could have held a keratinous covering, maybe even forming a low, flattened horn used in ritual displays. In either case, it symbolizes an evolutionary experiment in communication and identity. It challenges the stereotype of dinosaurs as crude, instinct-driven brutes, and invites us to imagine a more emotionally nuanced world, one where display, recognition, and subtle competition played roles in daily life, just as they do in many animals today. The frill, too, was a canvas for evolutionary creativity. While Triceratops displayed long, backward-facing horns and elaborate sharp-edged crests, Pachyrhinosaurus opted for a broad, compact shield over its neck, adorned with smaller hornlets and knobs. This reinforced plate may have protected it from predators like Albertosaurus, a close relative of the fearsome Tyrannosaurus. But just as likely, it served a social role, allowing individuals to recognize each other, to establish group bonds, or to communicate mood and status within the herd. Picture dozens of these animals moving together in loose procession, their frills glinting under the low sun, a silent pageant of cooperation in a land that demanded unity for survival. Their social lives may have been rich with behavior now lost to time. Evidence from bone beds suggests that Pachyrhinosaurus lived in large groups, perhaps even extended family structures. These herds would have traveled together, shared nesting grounds, and likely protected their young from predators. Fossilized footprints and trackways suggest an animal that moved steadily, its wide-set limbs designed to support its bulk across muddy, uneven terrain. Juveniles likely stayed close to adults, learning routes and feeding behaviors as they grew. The rhythm of such a herd moving together, pausing to graze, crossing shallow rivers, sheltering under ancient trees, invites a sense of calm, a picture of prehistoric life that is more serene than savage. Its diet, like that of other ceratopsians, consisted of fibrous, low-growing plants, with a strong beak capable of cropping tough ferns, cycads, and even woody shrubs. Pachyrhinosaurus was well equipped to feed efficiently, stripping vegetation from the landscape and converting it into energy with a digestive system designed for bulk processing. The creature likely had a large gut, capable of fermenting plant material over long periods, extracting nutrients slowly. This method of digestion required patience and time, and in this, Pachyrhinosaurus embodied the endurance of life that thrived not through speed or aggression, but through quiet, steadfast persistence. In many ways, Pachyrhinosaurus is a reminder that not all dinosaurs fit the roaring, thunderous archetypes often seen in popular culture. There is poetry in its silence, in its understated strength. It didn't dominate the landscape through terror or spectacle, but by finding a niche and living within it with quiet dignity. When one imagines the creature standing among a grove of ancient trees, the cool wind stirring the feathers of a distant bird-like theropod, the world seems still. This stillness, this harmony between species and environment, offers a comforting rhythm, a prehistoric lullaby woven from fossilized whispers. Modern science continues to unravel the mysteries of Pachyrhinosaurus. Micro-CT scans of its skull reveal complex sinus structures that might have supported resonant calls or unique vocalizations, further suggesting that communication was central to its way of life. And the discovery of juvenile specimens, preserved with care and clarity, offers new insights into growth rates, parental care, and herd dynamics. Each fossil is like a soft footprint in the sand, slowly revealing the emotional and ecological tapestry of a creature that is no longer here, but whose echo lingers in the stone. As the evening draws across the memory of this animal's existence, and as sleep approaches like a gentle fog rolling across an ancient valley, Pachyrhinosaurus stands still in the mind, resolute, gentle, and strangely familiar. Its life reminds us that evolution doesn't only celebrate the loudest, the fiercest, or the fastest. Sometimes, survival favors the adaptable, the social, the ones who move together and endure. In its heavy footfalls and the silent stretch of its frilled silhouette, there is peace. Let that image carry you gently into rest, a forgotten giant, quietly walking beneath the stars of a world long gone, yet never truly lost. Part 4. Narration. When picturing dinosaurs, the mind often conjures images of toothy predators like Tyrannosaurus or swift runners like Velociraptor. But among them walked a creature that rewrote the rules entirely, Narration, a dinosaur so strange it seemed plucked from a dream. With a pot belly, long arms ending in massive claws, a beaked mouth, and a coat of primitive feathers, Nothronicus looked more like a half-finished sketch in nature's notebook than a living, breathing animal. And yet, it was very real, living around 92 million years ago in what is now the southwestern United States. Nothronicus belonged to the Therizinosaurs, a group of dinosaurs that challenge almost everything we thought we knew about their theropod cousins. Despite being closely related to fearsome carnivores like Allosaurus and even Tyrannosaurus, Nothronicus took an entirely different path. Over time, its ancestors gradually shifted away from meat-eating, evolving into slow-moving, herbivorous oddities. Instead of sharp teeth, it developed leaf-shaped ones better suited for chewing plant matter. Its large gut hinted at a diet rich in fibrous vegetation, requiring time and fermentation to digest. It's a strange twist. Imagine the lineage of a lion slowly becoming more like a giant ground sloth over millions of years. And that's no coincidence. Nothronicus's name literally means slothful claw, a nod to both its massive curved claws and its likely slow-moving lifestyle, eerily reminiscent of extinct ground sloths. Those claws are among its most striking features. Each arm ended in 3 sickle-like claws, some over a foot long, perfectly curved and remarkably robust. While they appear terrifying, these claws were likely used not for violence, but for foraging, pulling down branches, stripping foliage, and possibly even digging for roots or ferns. Their sheer size, however, suggests that they may have also played a defensive role, especially when facing off against predators. When threatened, Nothronicus may have reared back and slashed with these powerful limbs, keeping attackers at bay with controlled but devastating swipes. Like many things about this animal, the claws blur the line between intimidation and utility. Its body shape added to its mystery. Unlike sleek, agile theropods, Nothronicus carried itself with a heavy, rounded belly, likely housing a large digestive system needed to break down plant material. It stood upright on 2 stout legs, and likely moved slowly, balancing its bulk with a relatively short tail. This was no runner or ambush predator. It lumbered, yet its long neck allowed it to reach higher vegetation, possibly feeding on mid-level foliage that many other herbivores couldn't access. It occupied a strange ecological space, somewhere between the low-grazing hadrosaurs and the high-reaching sauropods, perhaps feasting on a buffet of prehistoric greenery with methodical patience. And then there's the matter of feathers. Fossil evidence from related species suggests that Nothronicus likely bore a coat of primitive feathers, not the sleek flight feathers of birds, but rather a downy covering used for insulation or display. These feathers may have helped regulate its body temperature, especially during cooler nights or seasonal shifts. They might also have played a social role, with individuals using patches of color or fluff to attract mates or establish dominance. It's a haunting image, a slow feathered dinosaur with long claws wandering through a late Cretaceous forest, softly rustling through ferns and cycads under the filtered green light of ancient canopies. Nothronicus was one of the first therizinosaurs discovered in North America, and its unearthing caused considerable excitement and confusion. Early reconstructions struggled to place it. Was it a predator, a scavenger, some new kind of sauropod? As more fossils were found, a clearer picture began to form. It wasn't alone. The therizinosaurs, once thought to be a bizarre anomaly, were revealed as a widespread and successful group with their own lineage, evolution, and ecological niche. They were herbivorous theropods, an apparent contradiction that opened new windows into the complexity of dinosaur evolution. Living in the mid-Cretaceous, Nothronicus shared its environment with a range of other dinosaurs. including swift raptors and large tyrannosaurs, still finding their footing in evolutionary history. Its strange form may have given it advantages. Its upright posture and long reach allowed it to exploit different food sources, while its social behaviors, possibly including nesting in groups or caring for young, helped ensure survival. Though it might have appeared awkward or ungainly, every element of its body served a purpose fine-tuned over millions of years. Evolution doesn't design for elegance. It builds for survival. And Narration was a survivor in its own peculiar, beautiful way. There's something soothing about a creature like this. It wasn't a hunter or a conqueror. It didn't charge or roar. It moved slowly, deliberately, guided by instincts long forgotten. It reminds us that nature is as much about quiet persistence as it is about spectacle. In a world dominated by tooth and claw, Narration thrived with softness, slowness, and stillness. It is a meditation in dinosaur form, a slow-moving, feathered creature with curious eyes and careful steps, wandering ancient landscapes without hurry or fear. In this forgotten silhouette, there is peace. As modern paleontologists continue to study Narration and its kin, they reveal deeper truths about the diversity of prehistoric life. These creatures show that dinosaurs were not a monolith of terror and teeth, but a sprawling spectrum of behaviors, diets, shapes, and lives. For every predator there was a peaceful wanderer. For every chase, a slow stroll through silence. And so as night falls and the echoes of that distant time settle into dream, Narration ambles across the forest floor, quiet, feathered and serene, a whisper from a stranger world, gently reminding us that even the strangest creatures deserve their place in the story. Part 5. Gasosaurus. In the grand theater of prehistoric predators, some names echo through time with authority: Tyrannosaurus, Allosaurus, Giganotosaurus. But nestled quietly in the Jurassic mists is a dinosaur few have heard of, despite its pivotal place in history. Gasosaurus. Discovered in China in the early 1980s, this small to medium-sized theropod gained an unusual name after being unearthed during the construction of a gas facility. But beyond its quirky title lies a dinosaur that holds clues to a critical evolutionary moment when meat-eaters were rapidly diversifying, exploring new forms, strategies, and ecological roles. Gasosaurus may not tower in size, but in importance, it quietly roars. Gasosaurus lived during the Middle Jurassic, roughly 165 million years ago, a time far less represented in the fossil record than the later, more famous periods. This makes it a kind of paleontological gem, a glimpse into a murky chapter in dinosaur evolution. Measuring about 11 to 13 feet long and weighing perhaps half a ton, Gasosaurus wasn't large by theropod standards, but its proportions, long legs, a sturdy build, and a well-balanced frame, point toward a lifestyle that was swift, active, and likely predatory. It filled a role similar to a fox or coyote of the Cretaceous, a quick-footed, opportunistic carnivore, hunting smaller prey and avoiding the truly massive predators of its day. Much about Gasosaurus remains a mystery, in part because the fossil remains discovered were incomplete and weathered. Yet, even these fragments tell a compelling story. Its hind limbs suggest speed and agility, indicating it could chase down fast-moving prey or dart through forested terrain. Its short but powerful forelimbs, though not as famously tiny as those of Tyrannosaurus, hint at grabbing or grappling abilities, perhaps pinning smaller animals before delivering a bite. And while the skull of Gasosaurus has not been found, comparisons with close relatives suggest a mouth lined with sharp, blade-like teeth, perfect for slicing through flesh and bone. Its closest evolutionary connections remain debated, with some paleontologists placing it among the early Tetanurans, a broad group that includes nearly all later theropod dinosaurs, from Velociraptor to Spinosaurus. Others argue it belongs to a more primitive lineage, one that had not yet specialized into the sleek killing forms that dominated the late Jurassic. This ambiguity makes Gasosaurus fascinating. It could be a missing link of sorts, a creature from the dawn of modern meat-eaters, showcasing the traits that would be refined over tens of millions of years. Its anatomy is like a whisper from evolution itself, a rough draft of the deadly elegance that would soon emerge. The environment Gasosaurus lived in was warm and lush, with fern prairies, conifer groves, and river valleys teeming with life. In this ecosystem, it likely coexisted with early stegosaurs, primitive sauropods, and other small theropods. Fossil evidence from China's Dashanpu Formation, where Gasosaurus was found, paints a vibrant picture of biodiversity. The region was prone to volcanic activity, which helped preserve many of its residents in layers of ash and sediment. That preserved silence, buried for millions of years, has only recently begun to speak. Each fossil uncovered is a phrase in a lost language, and Gasosaurus is one of its more cryptic expressions. Despite being carnivorous, Gasosaurus likely had a wide behavioral range. It may have hunted in short bursts, ambushing small reptiles or mammals, but it also could have scavenged from larger kills, picking over the remains left by bigger predators. This dual strategy, hunt when possible, scavenge when necessary, is a hallmark of survival. In a dynamic ecosystem, adaptability was often more valuable than specialization. While predators like Allosaurus were powerful, they also demanded large prey. Gasosaurus, on the other hand, might have thrived in niches that others overlooked, slipping through undergrowth and dusk shadows in pursuit of sustenance. Because of its incomplete remains, Gasosaurus remains elusive in the public imagination. It hasn't starred in movies or adorned museum banners, but it represents an entire class of forgotten dinosaurs, those that weren't the biggest or most fearsome, but who still played vital roles in shaping the world. It stands for the quiet majority of prehistoric life, the countless species that rose and fell in the long drama of evolution. These were the creatures that held ecosystems together, that adapted and endured while larger giants stumbled and vanished. They were the runners in the background, unseen but essential. There's a special kind of peace in imagining Gasosaurus on a misty Jurassic morning, quietly emerging from the shadows of cycads, its eyes scanning the horizon for movement. Perhaps it pauses at a riverbank, sipping water while dragonflies buzz overhead. It is not a creature of terror or legend, but of routine and instinct, of simple needs in a complex world. In its obscurity lies its charm. Not every dinosaur was a thunderous titan. Some, like Gasosaurus, were subtle threads in the grand fabric of life, fleeting, forgotten, but beautiful in their own right. And so, as night stretches across the land, Gasosaurus disappears into the foliage once more, its steps muffled by damp earth. It leaves behind few bones, fewer stories, and no roar. But in that quiet, there is a kind of comfort. It reminds us that nature's wonders are not always loud, or large, or legendary. Sometimes they are small, half-remembered, and still perfect. Gasosaurus may have been overlooked by history, but tonight it walks again, in thought, in dream, and in the still hush of deep time. Part 6. Bipiosaurus. Among the dense, ancient forests of what is now northeastern China, during the early Cretaceous period, there lived a dinosaur unlike most others, Bipiosaurus inexpectus. Its very name, reflecting the surprise of its discovery, was a peculiar creature that didn't fit neatly into any of the familiar molds. Around 125 million years ago, this feathered dinosaur roamed the humid woodlands of the Ixian Formation, quietly feeding, foraging, and evolving in ways that challenge our traditional image of what a dinosaur should be. Though not massive in size, measuring just over 2 meters in length, Bipiosaurus represents a turning point in our understanding of dinosaur evolution, particularly the transition from scaly reptiles to feathered forms. Its discovery revealed that the lineage of theropods was more diverse, more experimental, and more softly feathered than previously imagined. Visually, Bipiosaurus was a creature of contradictions. It had a long, slender neck ending in a small head with a beaked snout, and yet its arms were long and powerful, tipped with massive claws that appeared better suited for defense or display than for actual combat. These claws, measuring up to 8 inches, were some of the largest known in relation to its body size. While its intimidating limbs might suggest a predatory lifestyle, a closer look at its teeth tells a different story. They were simple, leaf-shaped structures ideal for shredding vegetation, not tearing flesh. This odd combination of features, a herbivore's teeth and a predator's arms, made Bipiosaurus an evolutionary oddball, part of a group known as therizinosaurs, which were theropods that had abandoned the carnivorous path in favor of plants. What truly set Bipiosaurus apart, however, was its coat of primitive feathers. Unlike the structured flight feathers of modern birds, these were more like filamentous, hair-like strands, simple but significant. They are among the earliest known examples of what paleontologists call integumentary filaments, and their presence on Bipiosaurus provides key evidence in the story of feather evolution. These proto-feathers were likely not used for flight, but may have served several other purposes: insulation in cooler climates, camouflage among the foliage, or visual signaling during mating or territorial displays. In an age long before powered flight, these feathery filaments hinted at evolutionary directions still to come, suggesting that feathers evolved first not for flight, but for survival in many other ways. The anatomy of Bipiosaurus reflected an herbivorous lifestyle adapted to a forested environment. Its strong arms and clawed hands may have helped it pull down branches or dig for roots, while its long neck allowed it to browse from a variety of plant heights without needing to move much. Its gut, likely large and complex, would have processed tough vegetation through microbial fermentation, a slow but effective method of digesting fibrous plant matter. These adaptations made it a successful browser in the early Cretaceous, coexisting peacefully among conifers, ginkgos, cycads, and ferns that carpeted the forest floors and formed the canopy above. Its evolution shows that not all dinosaurs had to be fast, fierce, or ferocious to thrive. Some simply needed to be patient and well adapted to their niche. The environment that Bipiosaurus inhabited was lush, wet, and bursting with biodiversity. The Ixian Formation has preserved not only the bones of creatures like this strange therizinosaur, but also their skin impressions, feather traces, and even delicate soft tissues in some cases. These fossil beds provide a window into a rich ecosystem that also included early birds, primitive mammals, amphibians, and flowering plants just beginning to appear on the scene. Volcanic eruptions frequently buried these organisms in ash, creating the extraordinary fossilization conditions that have allowed Bipiosaurus and its world to be studied in such stunning detail. In such an environment, with abundant resources and relatively few large predators, this dinosaur's peaceful lifestyle would have been well supported. While not as famous as its cousin Therizinosaurus, whose name often grabs attention thanks to its nightmarishly long claws, Bipiosaurus holds a unique importance. It is one of the most basal or primitive members of the therizinosaur family, meaning it retains many ancestral traits while also showcasing new ones. This mix makes it an essential puzzle piece in understanding how some meat-eating dinosaurs began shifting toward plant-based diets and even bird-like features. Its skeletal structure, feather impressions, and even its posture help paleontologists fill in gaps in the evolutionary timeline, offering clues about how traits like feathers, beaks, and body insulation came to be widespread among maniraptoran dinosaurs. Bipiosaurus also forces a re-evaluation of what it means to be a theropod. Traditionally, theropods were categorized as bipedal carnivores, think Tyrannosaurus or Velociraptor. Yet here was a theropod with plant-eating habits, a bulky body, and feathers, not the sleek predator mold that had dominated our collective imagination. Its existence shows just how plastic and versatile evolution can be. Therizinosaurs like Bipiosaurus branched away from the classic theropod form and carved out a new identity altogether. They weren't failed predators or halfway birds. They were their own success story, adapting in strange and wonderful ways that allowed them to persist in dynamic ecosystems. Imagining Bipiosaurus alive is like conjuring a dreamlike creature, part ostrich, part sloth, part mystery. It wouldn't have stomped or charged through the forest, but rather moved quietly, grazing from shrubs and trees, always alert to sounds from the underbrush. Its long claws may have been used to ward off predators or rivals, but in daily life, they likely hung loosely as the animal browsed, much like a modern sloth's. Its feathers would have gently rippled in the breeze, offering it both camouflage and comfort. There's something profoundly soothing about picturing such a creature, an animal that defies expectations not through power, but through adaptation, subtlety, and grace. As night fell on its ancient forest, Bipiosaurus might have found a sheltered grove to rest, tucking its limbs beneath its feathered body, breathing slow and deep under the moonlight filtered through tall ferns and conifers. No need to run, no need to fight, just the rustle of leaves, the scent of damp earth, and the soft warmth of feathers against the cool air. In a world so often defined by survival of the fittest, Bipiosaurus offers a different perspective, one where survival is about fitting in gently, finding peace in the quiet corners of evolution. And in remembering this forgotten dinosaur, we find a kind of peace too. Part 7. Narration. In the arid floodplains of what is now the southwestern United States, around 90 million years ago, a truly unusual dinosaur ambled through the low-lying brush. Its name, Narrationicus, meaning sloth claw, is as curious as the animal itself. With its elongated arms, immense scythe-like claws, and bulky feathered body, Narrationicus defied the expectations of what a theropod should be. It was a therizinosaur, a branch of theropods that, over millions of years, had diverged sharply from their meat-eating ancestors and instead embraced a slower, more plant-focused life. Measuring around 4 to 6 meters long, Narrationicus was not a massive giant, but it made a big impression on science thanks to its blend of features, some prehistoric, some surprisingly modern, and all stitched together in one gentle, lumbering dinosaur. What first draws attention to Narrationicus are its arms. Long, almost awkwardly so, and tipped with claws that could grow up to 30 centimeters in length. These claws weren't used to rip prey apart. They were likely tools for a very different kind of survival. Paleontologists believe Narrationicus used them to pull down vegetation, scrape bark, or perhaps even dig into soft soil for roots and tubers. Its claws and arms were not weapons of war, but instruments of harvesting, quietly effective, surprisingly elegant. In motion, it may have moved with a deliberate slowness, its claws swinging gently like pendulums as it foraged beneath the open sky. Much like its distant cousin Bipiosaurus, it tells the story of a lineage that traded ferocity for adaptability. Despite its strange appearance, Nothronicus was well suited to its environment. Its teeth were small and leaf-shaped, ideal for cropping plants, and it likely had a large gut, capable of fermenting vegetation. This kind of digestive system would have needed time and stability, a body designed not for sprinting or leaping, but for slow, steady sustenance. Its skeleton even shows signs of a wide pelvis and broad torso, features associated with herbivorous digestion. While other theropods were evolving speed and bite force, Nothronicus was evolving patience. Its success didn't lie in overpowering others, but in becoming perfectly adapted to a calmer, more sustainable niche. It reminds us that evolution isn't always about being the fastest or fiercest. It's often about finding a rhythm that works and sticking with it. The discovery of Nothronicus marked a significant moment in paleontology. Until it was unearthed, the therizinosaurs were known mostly from fossils in Asia, particularly China and Mongolia. Finding Nothronicus in North America showed that this peculiar group had spread far and wide, carving out ecological niches on multiple continents. It also filled a gap in the fossil record, giving scientists a clearer picture of therizinosaur evolution. The fossils, first uncovered in New Mexico and later in Utah, were well preserved, allowing for detailed study of the creature's limbs, spine, and skull. These bones told a story of gradual change, from predatory ancestors to plant-loving descendants, mapped in every curve and joint of the skeleton. Feathers, too, were part of the Nothronicus equation. While direct feather impressions haven't yet been found with this species, its close relatives possessed coats of simple proto-feathers, and it's highly likely that Nothronicus did as well. These wouldn't have been flight feathers. This dinosaur was far too large and heavy to leave the ground, but rather a covering of filamentous strands that helped regulate body temperature, aided in display behaviors, or offered camouflage in its semi-arid environment. Picture a bulky creature covered in soft, shaggy filaments, standing in the dappled light of prehistoric shrubland. Its feathers ruffled slightly in the warm breeze as it reached for tender leaves with slow, deliberate movements. It was a vision of calm in a world that was often anything but. Behaviorally, Nothronicus may have been social, though evidence is still limited. If it traveled in small groups, it would have found safety not in numbers from large predators, but in the consistency of its environment. The late Cretaceous floodplains it inhabited were prone to seasonal change, with wet and dry cycles that influenced plant growth. Adaptable browsers like Nothronicus could thrive in such conditions, feeding on whatever foliage was available. Its daily life may have revolved around wandering from one grove to the next, feeding slowly, then resting in shaded areas during the hottest part of the day. It didn't need to be agile or fast. Its life was lived in a lower gear. There's a kind of prehistoric tranquility that Nothronicus represents. Unlike its flashier or more dangerous cousins, it existed in the margins, not as a hunter but as a quiet participant in the complex web of Cretaceous ecosystems. Its presence contributed to the balance of its habitat, shaping plant communities through selective feeding and helping maintain diversity by moving seeds or disturbing soil. Every step it took left impressions in the earth, literal and figurative, forming part of the record we uncover today. In a world filled with noise, Nothronicus is the whisper, its survival a testament to subtlety, slowness, and the value of simply enduring. For those who study dinosaurs, Nothronicus remains a source of fascination because it so clearly breaks the mold. It's a reminder that evolution is not linear or predictable. Some lines of dinosaurs chased speed and strength, while others, like the therizinosaurs, chose gentler paths. The more we learn about them, the more we realize how much variety existed in prehistoric times. Creatures we once thought we understood now seem far more complex. And each fossil, each strange bone or claw, tells us not only about survival, but about possibility. If Northronicus were alive today, it might resemble a creature from a dream, like a prehistoric sloth, with feathers and claws, stepping slowly through a sun-dappled grove. It would not roar or fight, but rather observe and graze, unhurried and unbothered. Watching it move, one might be struck by how ancient and peaceful it seems, a living reminder that not every success story is loud. In the quiet corners of the Cretaceous, Northronicus thrived simply by being exactly what it was, an odd, gentle, softly feathered wanderer. Part 8. Gasosaurus. Part 2. Tucked into the mid-Jurassic landscape of what is now China, Gasosaurus quietly prowled a lush world of ferns, conifers, and early flowering plants. This small to medium-sized carnivore, discovered during gas exploration in Sichuan province, hence its name, has remained a mystery to many. Measuring roughly 3.5 to 4 meters in length, it wasn't the largest predator of its time, nor the most heavily armed, but its presence adds an important piece to the puzzle of dinosaur evolution. It lived around 165 million years ago, during a period when theropods were diversifying and experimenting with form, size, and strategy. In that transitional space between the earliest meat-eaters and the more advanced lineages to come, Gasosaurus held its own. The fossil remains of Gasosaurus are fragmentary, but still tell a quiet story of adaptation. Its hind limbs were strong and built for speed, suggesting that this predator relied on agility rather than brute force. It lacked the towering stature of later carnivores like Allosaurus, yet its compact build likely made it a fast and efficient hunter. Its arms, though not as reduced as in some later theropods, were likely used for grasping rather than grappling. In all, Gasosaurus appears as a nimble, low-slung figure, moving silently through brush and trees, more of a stalker than an ambusher, guided by keen senses and patience. Though modest in size, it was no less a product of evolutionary precision. Where Gasosaurus truly intrigues scientists is in its placement on the dinosaur family tree. It exists in a murky period of theropod development, possibly close to the base of the group known as Tetanurae, which would go on to give rise to everything from Spinosaurus to birds. Some researchers even debate whether Gasosaurus belongs in that lineage at all, or whether it represents an offshoot, a branch that sprouted but didn't extend far. That uncertainty is part of its charm. It's a reminder that evolution is rarely tidy, and transitional species are often the hardest to categorize. Their features blur the lines and challenge assumptions, leaving us to piece together identities from partial clues. Despite its small fame, Gasosaurus lived in a world full of change and motion. The mid-Jurassic was a time when continents were still pulling apart, climates were shifting, and ecosystems were becoming more complex. Large sauropods like Shunnosaurus and Datasaurus roamed the same regions, their immense forms shaping the environment, trampling pathways through dense foliage and influencing vegetation patterns. Among such giants, a predator like Gasosaurus had to be smart, swift, and selective. It likely preyed on smaller dinosaurs, reptiles, or juvenile herbivores, using its quick reflexes and intimate knowledge of terrain to its advantage. The location of Gasosaurus's discovery, the Dashanpu Formation near Zhejiang, is one of China's richest fossil beds. It provides a vivid snapshot of life in the Jurassic, preserving everything from massive sauropod bones to the traces of tiny lizards and fish. Within this thriving prehistoric community, Gasosaurus filled a niche, its role subtle but necessary. Like many mid-tier predators, it kept smaller animal populations in balance and may have scavenged as well as hunted. Its survival didn't require dominance, only consistency. And in this teeming landscape of ferns and cycads, where rivers cut paths through mudstone valleys, Gasosaurus found exactly what it needed. There's something almost ghostly about Gasosaurus, not just because of its elusive fossil record, but because of its reputation. It's one of those dinosaurs whose name appears briefly in books or museum plaques before vanishing behind the shadows of more popular species. Yet it represents a vital evolutionary stage, a glimpse into how predatory dinosaurs were refining their tools, testing forms, and preparing for larger evolutionary leaps to come. Its bones, fragmentary as they are, speak of agility and adaptation. And while it may never inspire blockbuster films or towering statues, Gasosaurus is a subtle, essential thread in the story of life's resilience. In imagining Gasosaurus alive, one pictures it not as a terrifying beast, but as a light-footed presence darting between tree trunks, pausing to listen, then disappearing into the underbrush. It had no need for spectacle. Its power lay in precision. Where other predators relied on size or armor, Gasosaurus relied on balance. Its strong tail countered its forward-leaning posture, helping it turn quickly. Its jaw, though not as robust as later carnivores, would have been more than capable of dispatching the smaller prey it pursued. It was a creature of efficiency, designed for life on the move, for slipping in and out of view. To study a dinosaur like Gasosaurus is to appreciate the quiet foundation stones beneath grand evolutionary architectures. It doesn't dazzle with extremes, but it endures in scientific memory because it shows how ordinary traits, speed, awareness, adaptation, can be just as important as claws and teeth. Its fossils whisper of a creature that never ruled its world, but still belonged to it. In that way, Gasosaurus mirrors much of life as we know it, survival not through dominance, but through understanding and fit. It reminds us that even in prehistory, some of the most essential roles were played by those who simply moved well within their world. There's a calming sort of wonder in knowing that Gasosaurus walked the earth without grandeur, yet left behind just enough to be remembered. Its name might not ring with drama, but it carries with it the story of a life spent navigating ancient lands with quiet focus. Through every fossil unearthed and every fragment studied, its presence lingers, not in roar or thunder, but in the rustle of leaves and the soft thud of cautious steps through Jurassic undergrowth. Part 9. Oryctodromeus. In the heart of what is now Montana, nestled in layers of sediment over 95 million years old, a quiet discovery reshaped our understanding of dinosaur life. It wasn't a towering skeleton or a fierce predator that made headlines, but a small, modest creature known as Oryctodromeus cubicularis. Measuring around 2 meters from snout to tail, this lightweight herbivore would seem unremarkable at first glance. But what set it apart was where it was found inside what appeared to be a prehistoric burrow. This lone find hinted at a behavior never before associated with dinosaurs, digging, and not just scratching at the ground for food, but actually living underground, raising young in the safety of the earth. It introduced the idea that dinosaurs, often imagined in open plains or lush forests, may have lived much closer to the soil and much more quietly than anyone had guessed. The very name Oryctodromeus cubicularis is a mouthful, but it tells a whole story in Latin, digging runner of the burrow. Its skeletal features supported this image. It had a compact, aerodynamic body that could still move swiftly, but its forelimbs and shoulders were well muscled and adapted for a different kind of power, the force needed to push through soil. Its snout was narrow, ideal for nudging aside dirt, and its rib cage was deep and rounded, allowing for both lung expansion and the leverage needed when digging. Unlike modern moles or burrowing mammals, Oryctodromeus didn't have oversized claws or a completely subterranean body plan, but it was built to enter, modify, and inhabit tunnels with ease. It balanced life both below and above ground with elegant simplicity, adapting in a way that let it dodge predators and protect its offspring in ways larger species could not. The discovery of the actual burrow, complete with fossilized remains inside, was a milestone in paleontology. Most fossilized skeletons are found scattered, disarticulated by time and the elements, but the remains of Oryctodromeus were found in a tight grouping inside a spiral-shaped structure about 2 meters long. The arrangement wasn't random. It appeared that both adult and juvenile dinosaurs had shared the space. Their bones preserved in positions suggesting they were alive in the burrow together before it collapsed. This pointed strongly to a family group, with adults possibly caring for their young in the safety of their den. If true, it meant dinosaurs could exhibit extended parental care, watching over their offspring, nurturing them, teaching them how to survive, not unlike many birds and mammals today. It transformed this small dinosaur from a curiosity into a creature with a potentially complex social life. Life underground offered many advantages, especially for a small herbivore living in a world teeming with danger. Larger predators like Dromaeosaurus or Deinonychus prowl the landscape, relying on ambush and speed to catch prey. For Oryctodromeus, a burrow wasn't just a nest, it was a fortress. Underground temperatures were more stable, making it a refuge during both hot days and cold nights. The burrow also provided protection during seasonal storms or environmental upheaval. For the juveniles, it was a place to grow rapidly without immediate exposure to the hazards of the outside world. Safe in these subterranean chambers, they could develop in relative peace, only venturing outside when they were large and fast enough to handle life on the surface. The environment in which Oryctodromeus lived was equally important to its story. The mid-Cretaceous period was a time of warm climates, lush vegetation, and dynamic landscapes. River systems crisscrossed floodplains, and sediment from seasonal floods created soft soils, ideal for excavation. These ecosystems were teeming with life. Early flowering plants, tall ferns and conifers dominated the vegetation, while a range of other dinosaurs, insects, and small vertebrates added to the biodiversity. In this setting, Oryctodromeus carved out a niche that few others occupied. Where larger herbivores competed for food and visibility, this little digger survived through concealment and specialization. Its world was rich, complex, and often hidden from the surface gaze. Its diet likely consisted of soft, low-lying plants, which it cropped with a beak-shaped mouth. Unlike the massive sauropods that towered overhead and stripped trees of foliage, Oryctodromeus likely kept close to the ground, nibbling on ferns, horsetails, and early angiosperms. It had relatively simple teeth compared to more specialized herbivores, indicating it wasn't picky. The proximity of its food sources to its burrow meant it didn't need to stray far from safety. Paleobotanical studies of its habitat suggest that this environment supported a year-round food supply, reducing the need for migration. In all likelihood, Oryctodromeus stayed close to home throughout the seasons, sustaining itself with quiet efficiency while avoiding confrontation with larger dinosaurs. Despite its underground lifestyle, it wasn't confined solely to the shadows. Its hind limbs were strong and built for speed, allowing it to flee quickly if spotted by a predator out in the open. Fossil evidence suggests it could run bipedally, and its long tail helped it balance during sprints. This dual capability, digging and running, meant that Oryctodromeus could respond dynamically to danger. If it was near a burrow, it could vanish beneath the soil in seconds. If it was far from home, it could rely on speed to survive. This adaptability made it one of the more versatile small dinosaurs of its time. And in the evolutionary game, versatility often means longevity. As more fossil burrows have been studied, some paleontologists now suspect that Oryctodromeus may not have been entirely unique. Other small ornithopods from similar periods show features that hint at possible digging behavior, though no others have been found within burrows yet. The discovery prompted a re-evaluation of long-standing assumptions about dinosaur ecology. What other overlooked behaviors might be waiting in the fossil record? The idea that dinosaurs, long depicted as surface-bound creatures, might have developed sophisticated nesting strategies underground, opens a new frontier in paleobiology. It suggests that the dinosaur world was far more nuanced, with microhabitats and survival strategies that echo those of modern ecosystems. Oryctodromeus represents a different side of the dinosaur story, one not dominated by spectacle or size, but by subtlety, strategy, and care. It reminds us that not every dinosaur roared. Some lived quietly, carved lives into the earth, and shielded their young from the chaos of the surface world. These creatures may not fill museum halls with towering bones, but their story is no less profound. They offer a lesson in resilience and adaptation, proving that sometimes the most extraordinary dinosaurs were the ones that chose to live in the shadows. Part 10. Pegomastax. Among the many strange and delightful creatures to emerge from the age of dinosaurs, few are as bizarre or as underestimated as Pegomastax africanus. Barely the size of a domestic cat, this tiny dinosaur could have easily scampered between your feet unnoticed, if not for its striking and unusual appearance. Discovered in South Africa in Jurassic-aged rock, Pegomastax belonged to a group of dinosaurs known as heterodontosaurids, and everything about it broke the mold of what most people expect when they picture a dinosaur. It had a beak like a parrot, fangs like a vampire, and a body possibly covered in stiff, bristly quills. In a world dominated by thunderous giants and fearsome predators, Pegomastax thrived quietly and cleverly, its story not told through teeth marks or massive footprints, but through the subtle traces of a uniquely adapted life in the shadows of giants. What made Pegomastax so remarkable was its jaw structure, a strange and almost whimsical combination of evolutionary features that seemed borrowed from completely different animals. At the tip of its snout, it had a sharp, keratinous beak, ideal for snipping through tough vegetation or plucking fruit from low-growing plants. But behind that beak, things got stranger. Instead of the rows of grinding teeth typical in many herbivores, Pegomastax had a pair of long, curved fangs in its upper jaw and strong, slicing cheek teeth. This mix has puzzled scientists for years. Was it an omnivore? Did it use its fangs for defense or for display? The truth might be all of the above. In this compact skull, evolution had somehow produced a highly flexible tool set, one that allowed Pegomastax to make the most of whatever food or social challenge it encountered. Its body, too, was just as unusual. Fossil evidence suggests that Pegomastax may have been covered in filamentous structures, stiff bristles or quill-like feathers that sprouted along its back and possibly down its limbs. These weren't the flight feathers of birds, but rather simple filaments that likely served multiple purposes. They could have provided insulation, a useful adaptation in a climate that may have experienced seasonal cool periods. They also may have played a role in communication or camouflage, helping the animal signal to others or blend into its environment. When imagining Pegomastax, It's easy to conjure a picture of a prickly bird-like creature scurrying through the underbrush, its bristles catching the light as it darted between ferns. It would have been a sight both charming and surreal, an ancient oddity with a modern sense of flair. The environment in which Pegomastax lived was dynamic and full of life. During the early Jurassic, southern Africa was positioned closer to the South Pole than it is today, yet it enjoyed a mild climate due to the warm greenhouse conditions of the era. Forests of conifers and ferns stretched across the land, crisscrossed by rivers and dotted with volcanic uplands. In these fertile landscapes, small dinosaurs like Pegomastax lived alongside larger sauropodomorphs such as Mesospondylus and early theropods that were beginning to carve out the roles that future predators would inherit. But Pegomastax wasn't just surviving in the shadow of these larger animals, it was thriving in a niche all its own. Quick, low to the ground, and likely highly alert, it may have been active during twilight hours, avoiding competition and predation by operating on a different rhythm than the bigger beasts around it. Despite its age and uniqueness, Pegomastax remained a hidden treasure for decades. Its fossil was actually discovered in the 1960s during an expedition to the Elliott Formation in South Africa. However, it wasn't until 2012, nearly 50 years later, that paleontologist Paul Sereno formally described the species and revealed it to the world. The delay in study was largely due to how little attention such a small fossil initially received. But when it finally got its time in the spotlight, Pegomastax became a minor sensation. Its quirky appearance and blend of traits drew comparisons to everything from parrots and porcupines to fantasy creatures. The public fascination with it speaks to something deeper, our love for the weird, the overlooked, and the underdog stories hidden in prehistory's grand narrative. Much of what is known about Pegomastax and its relatives comes from meticulous comparisons with other heterodontosaurids, a group that is itself poorly understood due to a limited fossil record. These dinosaurs are characterized by their varied tooth types, hence the name, which literally means different-toothed lizards. This dental diversity is rare among dinosaurs and suggests a far more nuanced and adaptable feeding strategy than once thought possible. In the case of Pegomastax, the presence of both grinding cheek teeth and slicing fangs suggests it could process a variety of foods. Perhaps it gnawed on hard seeds, munched fibrous leaves, nibbled on bark, or even crunched on insects when available. Whatever its exact diet, it clearly wasn't bound by the strict categories of plant eater or meat eater. It lived in the in-between, navigating its ecosystem with versatility and intelligence. And though its size was diminutive, Pegomastax was no pushover. Its strong hind legs suggest it was a capable runner, perhaps relying on bursts of speed to escape threats. Its fangs might have delivered sharp nips to would-be predators, while its bristles could have made it a tricky animal to handle. It may have lived in loose social groups, using body postures or displays to communicate with others. If the fangs served a purpose beyond feeding, they might have helped settle disputes or attract mates. All of this adds to a picture of a lively, social, and surprisingly self-reliant creature, a far cry from the lumbering giants we often associate with the word dinosaur. In modern times, Pegomastax has gained a kind of cult following among paleontology fans and researchers alike. It's a symbol of how much diversity existed during the age of dinosaurs, how for every towering Tyrannosaurus or Diplodocus, there were dozens of lesser-known creatures like this one, each with a story just as rich and evolutionarily meaningful. Its fame reminds us that size isn't everything in prehistory. Sometimes, it's the creatures at ground level, the quiet foragers and quirky survivors, that offer the most insight into how ecosystems really functioned. The world Pegomastax lived in was one of color, sound, and complexity. And it played a role that may have been as crucial as any top predators. In the end, Pegomastax stands as a small but mighty symbol of prehistoric ingenuity. Its odd combination of traits forces scientists to re-evaluate assumptions, and its late rise to fame is a lesson in patience and curiosity. The more we learn about it, the more it seems like nature was experimenting, blending bird-like agility, mammalian quirkiness, and reptilian resilience into a creature that never quite fit into any box. And that's what makes it unforgettable. For those lying in bed, eyes closing slowly while imagining this spiny, beaked and fanged creature scampering beneath Jurassic foliage, Pegomastax becomes more than a name in a fossil catalogue. It becomes a friend from the deep past, whispering stories that are strange, quiet, and utterly beautiful. Part 11. Dinosaurs. Far from the scorching plains and humid jungles so often imagined in the age of dinosaurs, there was another world, one bathed not in sun but in silence. In the far southern reaches of what is now Australia, a small, curious dinosaur named Dinosaur lived its life beneath the shadows of polar forests. It wasn't large or fierce, and it didn't tower above the landscape, but in a place where the sun could vanish for months at a time, it became a quiet symbol of survival. Roughly the size of a modern-day wallaby, this herbivore adapted to life in ways that defy typical dinosaur expectations. Unlike the beasts of cinematic fame, Dinosaur was not a creature of spectacle. It was one of subtlety, of endurance, and of brilliant adaptation to a dark and ancient Earth. Discovered in the fossil-rich layers of Dinosaur Cove in southeastern Australia, Dinosaur has provided paleontologists with some of the most intriguing evidence of polar dinosaur life. Around 113 million years ago, during the early Cretaceous, this part of the world was much closer to the South Pole. Though the climate was likely milder than today's polar extremes, it still would have experienced long, dark winters and possibly cold temperatures. Yet, Dinosaur didn't migrate or vanish when the sun disappeared. Instead, it stayed. It evolved in place. This small creature lived through weeks, maybe months of twilight, navigating forests by moonlight, moving through the stillness, and foraging among ancient conifer trees. That alone tells us something extraordinary. Dinosaurs didn't just survive in warm climates. Some, like Dinosaur, learned how to live in the cold and the dark. One of its most remarkable features was its eyes. The fossilized skull of Dinosaur revealed exceptionally large eye sockets, disproportionate to its body size, and far larger than in related species. This strongly suggests that it had excellent vision, adapted to low-light conditions. Much like nocturnal mammals today, this dinosaur likely relied on its acute sight to navigate through long periods of darkness, whether in deep forest shade or during the polar winter. It paints an image of a dinosaur that didn't fear the night, but moved through it with grace. Its eyes, wide and intelligent, might have reflected even the faintest light, like those of a deer or an owl. In a world with dim skies and flickering auroras overhead, this dinosaur saw clearly where others could not. Dinosaur was a member of the ornithopod group, a lineage of generally small bipedal, herbivorous dinosaurs. But even among ornithopods, it was distinctive. Its body was built for agility, long legs, a lean torso, and a long, unusually stiff tail that stretched out like a balancing rod behind it. This tail, one of the longest proportional tails of any known ornithopod, was stiffened by bony tendons, suggesting that it played a major role in its mobility and stability. Whether sprinting from a threat or weaving through tangled roots and ferns, that tail may have acted like a tightrope walker's pole, giving it fine-tuned balance. It's easy to imagine Dinosaur darting through ancient underbrush, its long tail sweeping behind it like a ribbon in the wind, nimble and confident in a land most creatures avoided. Beyond its physical form, Dinosaurs challenges assumptions about dinosaur behavior. Evidence suggests that it lived in groups, possibly small herds or tight-knit family units. Fossil beds have uncovered the remains of multiple individuals together, hinting at a social structure that helped them survive in harsh conditions. Herd behavior would have offered protection, warmth, and guidance, especially for the young. During the coldest parts of the year, these dinosaurs may have gathered in sheltered areas, huddling together against the elements. Some scientists even propose that they may have used primitive burrows or natural cavities to wait out the worst of winter, a behavior more commonly associated with mammals. If true, it reveals just how flexible and clever these little dinosaurs were. But life in polar forests wasn't without danger. Even in these remote and seemingly isolated regions, predators lurked. Theropods, like Timimus, another little-known dinosaur native to the same region, may have posed a constant threat. For Dinosaurs, vigilance was key. Its sharp vision, fast reflexes, and likely strong hearing would have helped it detect movement and sound in the quiet woods. Though it had no claws or horns for defense, its best weapon was evasion. With a quick turn and a burst of speed, it could vanish into the dense brush before a predator even had time to react. In a world of shadows, speed and awareness were often the difference between life and death. The climate of Cretaceous Australia was likely tempered by volcanic activity, which helped keep polar temperatures survivable for dinosaurs. The land was blanketed in thick forests filled with ferns, cycads, and ancient conifer trees. These forests changed with the seasons, dropping needles in winter and bursting into new growth in spring. Dinosaurs likely followed these cycles closely, feeding on tender shoots and leaves when available, and possibly digging through the forest floor for roots, seeds, or decaying plant matter during leaner months. It would have been a quiet life, filled with routine and rhythm, much like the modern deer or wallaby. But every step it took, every mouthful of foliage was part of a grander dance, an ancient survival in a place few other dinosaurs dared to call home. One of the most compelling theories about Dinosaurs involves feathers, or at least some form of primitive insulation. No direct evidence of feathers has been found with its fossils, but given its habitat and evolutionary relatives, many paleontologists believe it may have been covered in filamentous structures similar to down. These feathers could have helped regulate body temperature, especially during long nights when warmth was scarce. Picture a creature no larger than a turkey, soft with downy insulation, moving carefully through a snowy forest floor beneath a canopy of silent trees. It's a peaceful image, quiet, resilient, and almost gentle in its simplicity. Not a predator, not a giant, but a creature of endurance and subtle grace. Dinosaurs didn't roar or dominate the landscape. It didn't crush, hunt, or dazzle with horns or crests. But what it represents is just as powerful: the adaptability of life. It showed that dinosaurs weren't bound to one kind of world. They could climb, burrow, swim, and survive under aura-filled skies with months of night. It's a humble reminder that not all ancient creatures were giants or monsters. Some were small, clever, and quiet, like Dinosaurs, thriving in silence, living softly at the edge of the world. And in that quiet resilience, it became unforgettable. Part 12. Bipiosaurus. In the softly forested lowlands of what is now Liaoning province in northeastern China, a peculiar dinosaur once roamed during the early Cretaceous period, around 125 million years ago. Its name was Bipiosaurus inexpectus, and it lived up to the meaning of its title, unexpected reptile from Bepio. This was not a towering predator or a lumbering sauropod. Instead, it was a medium-sized feathered dinosaur with traits that confounded paleontologists when it was first unearthed. It had a beak, long arms tipped with scythe-like claws, and a coat of downy proto-feathers, features that made it look like it had wandered out of another time or another world entirely. At around 2 meters in length and weighing about 25 kilograms, it was no giant, but its significance would loom large in the story of evolution. When fossils of Bepiosaurus were discovered in the fossil-rich Yixian Formation, they brought with them a quiet revolution. This part of China has yielded some of the most breathtakingly well-preserved fossils on Earth, thanks to layers of fine volcanic ash that buried creatures in an almost instant snapshot of prehistoric life. And from this ash emerged Bepiosaurus, a dinosaur that didn't just have feathers, but one of the earliest known examples of filamentous plumage in a theropod. These primitive feathers weren't meant for flight. Instead, they resembled long hair-like bristles, likely used for insulation, camouflage, and perhaps even display. These clues began to stitch together the idea that feathers, long before they lifted anything into the sky, served a different, more foundational purpose in the evolution of warm-blooded life. Bepiosaurus belonged to a lineage of dinosaurs known as therizinosaurs, arguably one of the strangest branches on the dinosaur family tree. These were theropods, the same broad group that includes fearsome carnivores like Velociraptor and T. rex. But therizinosaurs had evolved in a wildly different direction. Over time, they had shifted from meat-eaters to herbivores, adopting traits more in line with browsing mammals than apex hunters. Bepiosaurus, near the base of this evolutionary path, retained a mix of primitive and advanced features. Its skull still bore the lightweight, sharp profile of its carnivorous cousins, but its jawline featured a beak and peg-like teeth for cropping plants. It was a transitional figure, one foot still in the past, the other stepping toward a new ecological identity. Its claws were among its most striking features. Measuring over 20 centimeters in length, these gently curved, blade-like structures would look menacing at first glance, but they likely served non-lethal purposes. Much like a sloth, Bepiosaurus may have used its claws to grasp and manipulate branches, pulling foliage within reach. They might have also been defensive tools, offering some protection against the predators of its time. But despite their appearance, there's no evidence to suggest it used them to hunt or scavenge. Instead, its lifestyle was likely quiet and deliberate, wandering slowly through undergrowth, foraging for ferns, cycads, and low-lying vegetation in the shade of ancient conifers, relying on alert senses and a thick forest for safety rather than strength or speed. Its body was covered in a variety of filamentous feathers, an evolutionary middle ground between scales and the complex flight feathers of modern birds. Some of these were short and dense, forming a fuzzy coat that trapped warmth. Others were longer and more rigid, protruding from its arms and tail in decorative fans or spines. These structures may have played a role in communication or species recognition, with different patterns or lengths, distinguishing males from females or signaling maturity. The soft, bristle-like filaments are believed to be among the earliest forms of feathers known, helping scientists link the development of feathers to thermoregulation and social signaling before they were ever used for flight. Bepiosaurus was, in this way, a key piece in the puzzle of avian evolution. The environment it inhabited was part of a dynamic and vibrant ecosystem. The Yixian Formation was filled with ancient lakes, volcanic plains, and dense woodlands teeming with plant life. Insects buzzed, early mammals burrowed, and pterosaurs soared above the tree line. Bepiosaurus would have shared its world with other feathered dinosaurs like Microraptors and Sinornithosaurus. and may have needed to stay constantly alert to avoid becoming a meal. Despite its defenses, it was not invulnerable. It likely relied on camouflage, sharp senses, and the shelter of thick vegetation to stay safe. In such a biologically rich region, the competition for space and resources would have been constant, and Bipiosaurus carved out a niche as a low-energy, highly specialized forager. Its anatomy also reveals clues about how it moved. With strong hind limbs and a balancing tail, it walked on two legs in a semi-upright posture, head low and arms slightly outstretched. Its feet were broad and sturdy, designed more for steady walking than for sprinting. This suggests a calm, slow-moving lifestyle, not unlike that of some modern ground birds. The beak, shaped for clipping, would have moved rhythmically through the undergrowth, and the claws may have pulled down branches overhead. It's easy to imagine this creature in motion, stepping carefully through the leaf litter, quiet but deliberate, occasionally pausing to sniff the air or survey the dense canopy above. What made Bipiosaurus so important to science was not just what it was, but what it represented. For many years, dinosaurs were divided into simple categories: meat-eaters and plant-eaters, reptilian in look and cold-blooded in assumption. But this little dinosaur challenged those assumptions. It looked nothing like a dragon or lizard. It was soft, feathered, and strange. It wasn't fearsome, but it was complex. Its very existence required a reconsideration of how we define dinosaurs and how diverse their forms and lifestyles could be. Its transitional traits, beak, claws, feathers, herbivorous diet, connected two distant ends of evolution: the ground-stalking theropods and the birds in our backyards today. In the grand timeline of prehistoric life, Bipiosaurus may seem like a quiet footnote, but its story speaks volumes. It reminds us that the dinosaurs weren't just titans and terrors, but also subtle, adaptable, and often misunderstood. This small, shaggy creature living its quiet life in an ancient forest reveals that evolution doesn't just leap. It drifts, it experiments, it repeats patterns in new ways. And sometimes the most groundbreaking creatures are the ones that hide in the ferns, softly feathered, peacefully feeding, and utterly unexpected. Part 13. Segnosaurus. In the vast arid expanses of late Cretaceous Mongolia, a strange figure once moved across the sand and scrub. Its name was Segnosaurus galbinensis, the slow lizard from the desert, and true to its name, it didn't move with the speed of a predator or the might of a giant. Instead, it strode slowly and methodically, leaving deep clawed prints in the soil. Segnosaurus belonged to one of the most peculiar groups of dinosaurs ever discovered, the therizinosaurs, a clade that continues to bewilder scientists and enthusiasts alike. These creatures defied simple classification. Though descended from carnivorous theropods, they evolved into herbivores with long necks, beaked mouths, pot-bellied torsos, and immense claws. Segnosaurus was among the most advanced of its kind, and its anatomy tells the story of an evolutionary journey that rewrote everything we thought we knew about dinosaur diets and lifestyles. Measuring around 6 meters in length and weighing possibly over a ton, Segnosaurus had a unique build. Its neck was long and curved, allowing its small head to dip low to the ground or reach up to strip leaves from shrubs and low trees. The skull, with its downturned jaw and toothless front, suggested a beak-like structure, perfect for clipping vegetation. Behind the beak, its jaw housed a series of leaf-shaped teeth, tools made not for slicing meat, but for mashing fibrous plants. This odd arrangement points to a specialized herbivorous diet, a rarity for a lineage that shared ancestry with some of the deadliest predators in Earth's history. Its belly was likely rounded, housing an extensive digestive system capable of fermenting tough plant material. In a land of predators, Segnosaurus had become something else entirely, part dinosaur, part anomaly. But what truly sets Segnosaurus apart was its arms. Long and muscular, these limbs ended in 3 massive claws that curved like sickles, some of which may have reached nearly a meter in length. At first glance, they appear threatening, perfect weapons, but most paleontologists believe they were tools of a different kind. These claws might have helped Segnosaurus pull down branches or strip leaves from thick vegetation. They could have been used to dig, rake, or even defend against attackers. Their size, however, seems to surpass functional necessity, suggesting that they might also have served a visual or social purpose, perhaps intimidating rivals or attracting mates. Whatever their exact role, the claws remain one of the most dramatic and mysterious features of therizinosaurs as a group, and Segnosaurus embodied them to the extreme. Its feet told another curious story. Unlike the sharp, talon-tipped feet of typical theropods, Segnosaurus had wide, weight-bearing toes that spread its bulk across the ground. This adaptation allowed it to support its weight more effectively, especially when rearing or moving slowly over loose terrain. Its posture was semi-erect, balancing on 2 powerful hind limbs while the long tail countered its forward heavy frame. Unlike fleet-footed raptors or towering carnivores, Segnosaurus didn't need speed. Its survival relied on its bulk, its claws, and perhaps even its sheer unfamiliarity. Few predators may have understood what this creature was or how to deal with it. The habitat of Segnosaurus was likely seasonal and semi-arid, with dry plains broken by stretches of woodland and riverbanks. Fossils of this dinosaur have been discovered in the Bayan Shari Formation, a sediment-rich region that hints at a diverse ecosystem. It would have lived among other herbivores and carnivores, including tyrannosaurs and ornithomimids, navigating a competitive world with unusual strategies. The flora of the time included conifers, cycads, and flowering plants, providing an abundant food source for a specialized browser like Segnosaurus. It likely fed throughout the day, using its claws to reach for leafy branches and its beak to nip them cleanly, chewing slowly with teeth shaped to grind rather than cut. Despite its herbivorous lifestyle, Segnosaurus would not have been free from danger. It shared its world with formidable predators, and its slow, lumbering nature may have made it vulnerable, especially in open spaces. But its immense claws and likely tough hide provided some defense. And like many large herbivores, it may have relied on group behavior to increase its odds of survival. Some scientists speculate that therizinosaurs like Segnosaurus may have lived in small herds or loose groups, staying close to vegetation for both food and shelter. There's even the possibility that bright feathers or quill-like structures adorned its body, though no direct evidence of feathers has been found for this specific species yet. If it did have them, they might have served as camouflage or helped with temperature regulation in Mongolia's fluctuating climate. What makes Segnosaurus so fascinating is how it forces a rethinking of dinosaur evolution. It is a contradiction in motion, a descendant of meat-eaters, with claws like weapons, but built to consume plants, a theropod, but not a hunter. Its odd combination of traits highlights the branching non-linear path of evolution, how nature experiments, discards, and repurposes. In a lineage where most members raced, hunted, and killed, Segnosaurus chose stillness, strength, and the slow work of foraging. It teaches that survival isn't just about aggression or speed, but also adaptation, and sometimes even gentleness. The fossil remains of Segnosaurus, though incomplete, continue to speak volumes. Each bone reveals subtle shifts in function, clues to how this dinosaur once moved, fed, and survived. Its pelvis, for instance, is broader than that of most theropods, another sign of its plant-processing gut. Its vertebrae show signs of muscle attachment that suggest powerful neck and tail movement, and its hand bones fused in a way that hints at limited finger motion, still supported claws of immense size. These small anatomical details pull us into a deeper understanding of its life, showing how radically diverse dinosaurs truly were. Segnosaurus, in its quiet desert world, was a dinosaur out of sync with expectations. Neither predator nor prey in the usual sense. It followed its own evolutionary script. It didn't run through the forests like a raptor or thunder across plains like a sauropod. It moved slowly, grazed thoughtfully, and may have stood in the shade while others fought for dominance. In the end, its story adds a subtle, soothing note to the chorus of prehistory, reminding us that strangeness can be strength, and that even in a world of tooth and claw, there was room for a creature like Segnosaurus to simply be. Part 14. Alxosaurus. In the fossil-rich deserts of Inner Mongolia, a remarkable discovery in the early 1990s added another strange piece to the ever-expanding puzzle of dinosaur evolution. The creature was named Alxosaurus elicitaensis, meaning Alxa lizard from Elicitae, and it emerged as one of the earliest well-preserved members of a group once shrouded in mystery, the Therizinosaurs. At first glance, Alxosaurus looked like a mosaic of mismatched parts. Its skeleton displayed characteristics of both meat-eating and plant-eating dinosaurs, a blend that challenged the expectations of what a theropod was supposed to be. With long arms, sharp claws, a toothless beak, and a pot-bellied torso, Alxosaurus was both a glimpse into the origins of a bizarre lineage and a gentle reminder of evolution's creativity. Measuring about 4 meters in length and weighing several hundred kilograms, Alxosaurus was neither the smallest nor the largest of its kind, but its skeletal structure was pivotal in understanding how therizinosaurs evolved. This dinosaur likely walked on 2 legs, with a strong, slightly arched back and a long neck that helped it reach vegetation from various heights. Its tail, relatively straight and stiffened by vertebrae extensions, helped with balance. What made Alxosaurus particularly important was how it combined traits from advanced and primitive therizinosaurs, acting as a bridge between meat-eating ancestors and the later, fully herbivorous giants like Therizinosaurus. It was the missing link that allowed paleontologists to track the transformation from raptor-like predators to strange clawed plant-eaters. Its hands were among its most intriguing features. Long, slender arms ended in 3 fingers, each tipped with a large curved claw. These claws were not the tools of a killer, but likely served a more delicate purpose, pulling down branches, stripping leaves, or possibly even digging through soft soil for roots and tubers. Unlike the claws of raptors used to grip and slash, the claws of Alxosaurus were likely instruments of harvest. They may have also served defensive or display functions, adding to the creature's visual profile and possibly playing a role in mating rituals or dominance displays. This dual-purpose adaptation speaks to the complex survival strategies that were emerging during the late early Cretaceous period when Alxosaurus roamed the Earth. Its skull was relatively small compared to its body, and although the front portion remains incomplete in fossil records, the evidence suggests it had a beak rather than a full set of teeth. Like later therizinosaurs, this beak would have been efficient at cropping tough plant material, while flatter cheek teeth further back in the mouth could have helped with basic chewing or mashing. Its digestive system, inferred from its wide pelvic girdle and broad ribcage, would have needed to support the fermentation of high-fiber plant matter. The presence of gastroliths, small stones used to grind food in the stomach, has not been confirmed for Alxosaurus, but it's a likely possibility, especially given what is known about related herbivorous dinosaurs. The environment where Alxosaurus lived was likely seasonal and warm, with river systems, scattered forests, and stretches of open terrain. It may have foraged in groups or moved alone, its slow gait and unhurried movements making it an unlikely target for many predators, especially with those formidable claws at its side. It shared its ecosystem with other dinosaurs, including small theropods and early ceratopsians, creating a dynamic food web where even the most peculiar niches were filled. While its pace was deliberate, it may have been highly alert, using its long neck to scan for danger, while it browsed quietly through ancient vegetation. Though Alxosaurus was a peaceful feeder, its ancestry was carnivorous, and its lineage speaks volumes about evolutionary flexibility. Theropods, the group that includes fearsome creatures like Velociraptor and Tyrannosaurus, were primarily known as hunters. But here in the desert sands of China was a theropod that had given up the chase and adapted to a completely different lifestyle. This transition from predator to plant eater is one of the most dramatic examples of evolutionary change in the entire dinosaur record. Alxosaurus, with its intermediate features, stands as the pivot point between two evolutionary worlds, its skeleton holding the story of a dramatic shift in survival strategy. Feathers may have covered its body, though no direct evidence has been found for this species. However, closely related therizinosaurs and many other theropods have shown clear signs of feathering, leading paleontologists to strongly suspect that Alxosaurus had at least a downy coat or primitive feather structures. If true, this feathering might have helped regulate its body temperature, protected it from the sun, or even aided in social interaction. Some scientists even theorize that patches of colorful feathers could have been used for mating displays or visual signaling, painting a more vivid and complex picture of this dinosaur's appearance than the bare skin often imagined in outdated depictions. Its discovery in the 1990s filled a crucial gap in the fossil record and helped reframe the understanding of how therizinosaurs fit into the broader tree of life. Before Alxosaurus, the therizinosaurs seemed too odd to categorize, resembling a blend of sauropod, ornithischian, and theropod traits. But with Alxosaurus, the evolutionary trail became clearer. It was no longer a disconnected mystery, but a part of a sequence, a transitional form with enough clarity to connect the dots. The importance of this animal isn't only in its odd appearance, but in how it helped reshape the scientific story of an entire group. Alxosaurus didn't make headlines like a T-Rex or dominate imaginations like a Triceratops, but its significance is quiet and profound. It was a pioneer of a new lifestyle, a trailblazer in a world where most of its kin still hunted for meat. It teaches that change can be gradual and meaningful, that survival can come not from being the strongest, but from being different. And as its bones rest in stone, they whisper of a time when the earth was open to strange possibilities, when evolution wove new paths through old lineages, and when a long-armed, leaf-munching dinosaur stepped softly across the ancient sands of Inner Mongolia. Part 15. Falcarius. Deep in the remote deserts of Utah, fossilized remains of a creature unlike any other were discovered. Falcarius, a dinosaur that defies typical categorization, living during the early Cretaceous period, around 125 million years ago. Falcarius was an early member of the therizinosaur family, though it didn't quite fit the typical therizinosaur mold. Unlike its later relatives, which grew massive and developed long claws for foraging, Falcarius was relatively small, measuring only about 2.5 meters in length, but it carried with it a collection of traits that set it apart. This dinosaur walked the line between predator and herbivore, an unusual and fascinating combination in the dinosaur world. Its skeletal features show that it was a creature of transition, an intermediary between its carnivorous ancestors and the herbivorous giants that would come later. One of the most surprising features of Falcarius was its teeth. While many theropods had sharp, serrated teeth for ripping meat, Falcarius had a combination of teeth that indicated it was primarily plant-eating, yet still retained the ancestral traits of a meat-eater. The front of its mouth housed sharp teeth suited for slicing, but further back, the teeth were more flat and grinding, ideal for processing plant material. This combination of tooth types highlights the transition between carnivorous and herbivorous diets in dinosaurs and shows the adaptability that many theropods would undergo during the course of evolution. Falcarius was a living testament to how evolution could shape a species into something entirely new, blending traits from both predatory and plant-eating dinosaurs. Despite its herbivorous tendencies, Falcarius still had the sharp claws and strong hind limbs typical of theropods. Its forelimbs, equipped with 3 large curved claws, might have been useful for climbing or grasping, rather than for hunting. In fact, some scientists believe that Falcarius might have used its claws to help pull down branches to feed, or possibly to defend itself. Its legs were powerful, suggesting that it could move with a burst of speed when necessary, but unlike later therizinosaurs, which grew into massive, slow-moving plant-eaters, Falcarius was more nimble, capable of adapting to its environment and evading predators with agility. In terms of its behavior, Falcarius may have had a mixed diet, with a preference for plants, but the occasional animal material. It is believed that Falcarius fed on small, low-lying plants, ferns and conifers, but it could have opportunistically eaten small animals or scavenged carcasses if the opportunity arose. This omnivorous diet places Falcarius in a unique position in the food chain, not as a strict herbivore, but not quite the fierce predator that many of its theropod relatives were. It likely used its sharp teeth to tear through tough plant material, similar to how modern herbivores break down their food, but its hunting instincts were not completely dormant, allowing it to survive in a world of ever-changing ecosystems. When it comes to its size, Falcarius wasn't a giant. Compared to the colossal Therizinosaurus or other large theropods, it was a comparatively small dinosaur. This size difference is what makes it particularly fascinating. While its relatives grew to enormous sizes, Falcarius remained small and agile. It lived in the lush floodplains and forests of what is now North America, an environment teeming with early plants and a diverse range of other dinosaurs. Falcarius would have moved through dense vegetation with ease, foraging for food, while its small size allowed it to avoid many of the larger predators that shared its environment. This dynamic must have given it an evolutionary edge, enabling it to thrive in a changing world. The fossil evidence also reveals that Falcarius had a relatively primitive appearance compared to its later relatives. While its long, curved claws were a defining characteristic of the Therizinosaur group, its overall body shape was much less specialized. Its relatively short, slender neck and more compact body were unlike the large, lumbering herbivores that would follow in its family tree. In many ways, Falcarius was a stepping stone in the evolution of Therizinosaurs, an animal that was beginning to adapt to new ways of life, but not yet fully committed to a single specialized niche. What truly sets Falcarius apart from other dinosaurs, however, is its place in the evolutionary history of Therizinosaurs. As one of the earliest members of this group, Falcarius bridges the gap between the early meat-eating ancestors of Therizinosaurs and the more evolved herbivorous giants that would dominate the later Cretaceous period. Its unusual traits reflect the larger, ongoing evolutionary trends of the time, as dinosaurs experimented with different dietary strategies, body shapes and behaviors. Falcarius didn't fit neatly into any box, but rather blended the lines between predator and prey, showing the incredible diversity of adaptations in the dinosaur world. Living around 125 million years ago, Falcarius was part of a complex ecosystem that included a wide variety of other dinosaurs. It may have coexisted with species like Utahraptor, a fast and fearsome predator, as well as herbivorous dinosaurs like Camptosaurus. These creatures were part of a dynamic world where the interactions between predators, prey, and plants created a constant dance of survival. Whether Falcarius was foraging alone or in small groups, it was undoubtedly a small but significant part of this intricate web of life. Its place in the ecosystem would have been to keep the balance between plant and animal life, perhaps scavenging from the carcasses of dead animals and maintaining a steady diet of plants. In the end, Falcarius wasn't just another strange theropod. It was a pioneer, a dinosaur that marked the beginning of the Therizinosaur family's shift from carnivory to herbivory, setting the stage for the large, bizarre herbivores that would follow. Its existence provides a window into a time when evolutionary paths were diverging, and when small, nimble dinosaurs like Falcarius could carve out a niche for themselves, adapting to the changing landscapes of the Cretaceous world. It may not have been the biggest or the fiercest, but Falcarius left behind a legacy that still intrigues paleontologists today, a reminder of the wonderful variety of life that once roamed our planet. Part 16. Martharosaurus. Beneath the tranquil waters of the Triassic seas, a sleek and streamlined predator swam through the depths with remarkable agility. This little-known marine reptile, known as Martharosaurus, lived around 220 million years ago during the early Triassic period. While it lacks the fame of the later marine giants, like Plesiosaurus or Mosasaurus, Martharosaurus was an integral part of the ecosystem, playing a vital role in its underwater food chain. Its existence as a smaller but highly effective predator helps illuminate the complexity of marine life during a time of global upheaval and ecological recovery following the end Permian extinction. As the oceans teemed with life once more, Martharosaurus was one of the creatures to adapt and thrive in this ancient world. The Martharosaurus was a relatively small ichthyosaur, measuring only 3 to 4 meters in length, making it much smaller than some of its larger contemporaries. Despite its size, it was an agile swimmer, perfectly adapted to its marine environment. The reptile's body was built for speed, with a slender, fusiform shape that allowed it to cut through the water with minimal resistance. This sleek body was supported by a long, powerful tail, which provided propulsion and helped it navigate swiftly. This adaptation gave Martharosaurus an edge in hunting smaller prey, such as fish and cephalopods, which were abundant in the Triassic seas. Its design was refined to hunt efficiently in the water, allowing it to be a predator capable of quick bursts of speed to capture its prey before it had a chance to escape. The Martharosaurus's streamlined shape was complemented by its well-developed tail fin, which made it an expert at controlling its movements and maneuvering in tight spaces. This tail fin, much like the one found in modern dolphins, was a critical adaptation that enabled the reptile to swim at high speeds while also making rapid turns when hunting or evading predators. This maneuverability would have been essential for survival in a marine environment where quick reflexes and the ability to navigate swiftly could mean the difference between life and death. With its tail acting as the primary source of propulsion, the rest of its body, including the head and long neck, was held in a balanced position, optimizing its ability to pursue fish and other small marine creatures with precision. The teeth of Martharosaurus were sharp and well suited for grabbing and holding onto slippery prey, but unlike later, more specialized marine reptiles, Martharosaurus did not have teeth adapted for crushing shells. Instead, Its teeth were better suited for catching and holding onto small fish and soft-bodied cephalopods, which made up a large part of its diet. These creatures were abundant in the Triassic seas, and Metharosaurus likely relied on its speed and agility to snatch them up in the open water or from the sea floor. Its teeth, though not designed for grinding or crushing, were still effective for grasping prey, allowing it to tear through the flesh of smaller animals. Its feeding habits were less specialized compared to larger marine reptiles, but this made it adaptable to a variety of prey and a wide range of environments. In terms of behavior, Metharosaurus would have been an agile and opportunistic predator, carefully navigating the waters in search of food. Its diet would have primarily consisted of small fish, squid-like creatures, and perhaps the occasional crustacean. The Triassic seas were teeming with such life, and Metharosaurus would have been well positioned to take advantage of the abundant food sources. Unlike the larger, more specialized marine reptiles that would evolve later, Metharosaurus was likely more versatile in its hunting methods. It might have hunted alone or in small groups, depending on the availability of prey and the presence of other predators in the area. Its size and swimming speed would have made it an excellent predator for its time, allowing it to exploit a variety of ecological niches. The existence of Metharosaurus offers us a glimpse into the early days of marine reptile evolution. While larger ichthyosaurs and other marine reptiles would soon come to dominate the seas, Metharosaurus represents a stepping stone in the adaptation of reptiles to fully aquatic lifestyles. Its relatively small size and agility allowed it to fill a unique role in the ecosystem. As a mid-sized predator, Metharosaurus likely did not have to compete directly with the largest predators, instead focusing on catching smaller prey while avoiding larger marine reptiles. Its body design and hunting strategies suggest that it was part of a diverse and balanced marine ecosystem, where each species filled a specific niche. Despite its relatively small size, Metharosaurus played an important role in shaping the early marine food chain. As it hunted its prey, it helped maintain balance in the marine ecosystem, controlling populations of smaller fish and cephalopods. By keeping these populations in check, it indirectly allowed other marine life forms to thrive. The ecosystem that Metharosaurus inhabited was complex, with various species filling different ecological roles. While larger predators like Shonosaurus and Nothosaurus dominated the oceans, smaller creatures like Metharosaurus were vital in maintaining the overall health and stability of the system. This balance is a reminder that ecosystems are made up of many different players, each contributing in their own way to the greater whole. The fossils of Metharosaurus have provided paleontologists with valuable insight into the life of marine reptiles in the Triassic period. Though relatively rare, these fossils give us an understanding of the early stages of ichthyosaur evolution and the adaptation of reptiles to life in the oceans. Fossils have been discovered in the Germanic Basin, a region known for its rich collection of Triassic marine life. These fossils tell the story of an ancient sea teeming with life, where creatures like Metharosaurus swam gracefully through the waters, hunting, surviving, and adapting to the changing world around them. These discoveries allow us to piece together the puzzle of ancient ecosystems and to appreciate the diversity of life that once inhabited Earth's seas. In conclusion, Metharosaurus may not be a well-known name in the pantheon of prehistoric creatures, but its contributions to understanding marine life during the Triassic period are invaluable. This small but capable predator helped to shape the early stages of marine reptile evolution, occupying a critical ecological role in the waters of ancient Earth. Its ability to navigate swiftly, hunt efficiently, and adapt to a variety of prey sources made it an important player in the Triassic seas. As we continue to explore and discover new fossils, we gain a greater appreciation for the diversity and complexity of life that once flourished in the ancient oceans. In the story of marine reptiles, Marthasaurus holds a quiet yet significant place, serving as a reminder that sometimes the lesser-known creatures are the ones that offer the most insight into the past. Part 17. Rabdodon. The late Cretaceous period, which spanned from around 100 to 66 million years ago, was a time of profound change on Earth. While it's often dominated in the popular imagination by massive sauropods and ferocious theropods, it was also a time of incredible diversity among smaller herbivores. One such herbivorous dinosaur was Rabdodon, a member of the Iguanodontidae family, which lived in what is now Europe. Rabdodon is not as well known as its more famous relatives, but its role in the ecosystems of the late Cretaceous was significant, offering a fascinating glimpse into the life of smaller, less studied dinosaurs that often get overshadowed by their more imposing contemporaries. Unlike the larger, more iconic dinosaurs of its time, Rabdodon was smaller, yet still played a vital role in shaping the dynamics of its environment. Rabdodon grew to a length of about 4 to 5 meters, a moderate size compared to the towering giants of the era. Its physical appearance was quite characteristic of the iguanodontids, with a robust body that had long, powerful hind limbs designed for bipedal locomotion. Unlike some other herbivores that stuck exclusively to 2 feet or 4, Rabdodon demonstrated some flexibility in its movement, showing signs that it could switch between bipedal and quadrupedal stances depending on the situation. This ability likely gave it an edge in adapting to its environment, allowing it to graze on both low-lying plants and higher vegetation, an advantage in a world where resources were often distributed unevenly across the landscape. Its body was adapted for enduring long periods of foraging, its limbs built for both speed and agility when needed, offering an interesting blend of endurance and movement efficiency. The characteristic features of Rabdodon were particularly fascinating. One of the standout traits of this dinosaur was the large thumb spikes on its hands. These thumb spikes were not just for show, they were likely vital tools for defense. Rabdodon didn't have the offensive traits of larger carnivores, nor was it built for confrontations like some more specialized predators, but its spikes may have served as a deterrent against the many carnivorous theropods that roamed alongside it. Rather than attacking, the dinosaur likely used these spikes to ward off attackers or defend itself if it was cornered. The thumb spikes were likely a key feature in its survival, adding an extra layer of protection that may have helped it escape fatal encounters, especially with younger predators or scavengers eyeing it for a meal. Another defining characteristic of Rabdodon was its diet. As an herbivore, it would have been well adapted to consuming a variety of plants that flourished during the late Cretaceous. The landscape it inhabited was full of cycads, ferns, and conifers, plants that made up the bulk of its diet. Unlike some herbivores that might have specialized in eating a single type of plant, Rabdodon had a more generalized diet, allowing it to exploit a variety of food sources depending on what was available in its environment. Its beak-like mouth, along with flat teeth, would have been perfect for stripping leaves, cutting through tough plant matter, and processing the plant material that constituted the bulk of its sustenance. It's likely that Rabdodon was a constant forager, constantly moving through its habitat in search of food, a trait shared by many herbivorous dinosaurs of the period. Rabdodon's ability to adapt its movement to various environments made it a versatile species. While it is thought that it spent much of its time on 2 legs, evidence suggests it could easily transition to a 4-legged posture when needed, such as when it was grazing on plants low to the ground, or possibly in times of high-speed flight from predators. Fossilized footprints and trackways indicate that it could move with some speed, although not as quickly as some of the smaller, more nimble dinosaurs. However, Rabdodon did have the benefit of size and a highly defensive posture, when threatened. Its spikes and its ability to run at moderate speeds would have allowed it to evade predators, relying on a combination of speed and protective features to survive. The herbivorous Rabidon was part of a wider, intricate food web. As a prey species, it would have been subject to the pressures of predation. Predators like Troodon or smaller theropods, such as Dromaeosaurus, would have been its main threats, hunting in packs and using speed and agility to try and catch herbivores like Rabidon. However, the ability of Rabidon to live in herds would have provided an added layer of protection. Herding behavior was common among many dinosaurs, and it's likely that Rabidon used this social strategy to deter predators and protect the more vulnerable members of the group, such as the young. Herds of Rabidon might have traveled together in search of food, with one or more members keeping lookout for predators while others foraged. This social structure allowed them to survive in a world filled with danger. Fossils of Rabidon have been discovered across Europe, with notable finds in France, Spain, and Belgium. These discoveries have provided scientists with a better understanding of how this dinosaur lived and interacted with its environment. The fact that Rabidon was relatively widespread suggests that it was adaptable, capable of living in a variety of habitats, from coastal plains to forested areas. The remains show a creature that was well suited to life in a rapidly changing environment. The landscape of the late Cretaceous was one of great change, with the Earth's shifting climates and ecosystems evolving. This adaptability would have been a key factor in the survival of Rabidon, enabling it to cope with the shifting vegetation and changing predator-prey dynamics. Despite the importance of Rabidon in its ecosystem, its fossils are not as abundant as those of other herbivores from the same period, like Iguanodon. This relative scarcity of fossils might explain why Rabidon remains an obscure figure in dinosaur history. However, every new discovery of Rabidon fossils sheds more light on its life and provides crucial information about the diversity of herbivores that lived during the Cretaceous. While it may not have been as dominant as some of the more well-known species, Rabidon was an integral part of its environment, helping to shape the ecosystems that existed before the rise of the more familiar dinosaurs. In the end, Rabidon is a reminder that not all dinosaurs need to be giants to have a lasting impact. Its relatively modest size and its defensive adaptations were more than enough to help it thrive in an ever-changing world. Though Rabidon may have faded into obscurity in the shadow of more famous dinosaurs, its story provides an important chapter in understanding the variety and complexity of life during the late Cretaceous. As more fossils are unearthed and the story of Rabidon is pieced together, its place in the rich tapestry of prehistoric life will continue to be appreciated, shedding light on the remarkable resilience and adaptability of dinosaurs in a world filled with constant change. Part 18. Kuru. The late Cretaceous period, which spanned from about 100 to 66 million years ago, was home to an astonishing variety of dinosaur species, each uniquely adapted to its environment. Among the many creatures that roamed the Earth during this time, one lesser-known dinosaur, Kuru, stands out for its peculiar characteristics and elusive nature. This small, herbivorous dinosaur was a member of the Hadrosauridae family, often known as the duck-billed dinosaurs, due to their distinctively broad, flattened snouts. Kuru, however, is far less famous than its larger, more iconic cousins like Parasaurolophus or Edmontosaurus. Despite this, its fossils provide a fascinating look into the diversity of hadrosaurs during the Cretaceous period and highlight the variety of evolutionary paths that led to the rise of the more commonly known dinosaurs. Kuru was a relatively small dinosaur, measuring just over 4 meters long and weighing around half a ton. Unlike some of its larger relatives, Kuru had a more compact build, with a body designed for efficiency rather than sheer size. Its long, slender legs suggest that it was likely a fast runner, able to dart through dense vegetation and escape potential predators. This agility was an important adaptation, as the Cretaceous landscape was full of larger, faster predators, such as the deadly Tyrannosaurus rex and Dromaeosaurus. While Kuru may not have been a heavyweight in terms of size, its speed and ability to maneuver quickly would have been crucial for its survival in a world where every day was a battle for survival. Like other members of the Hadrosauridae family, Kuru was likely a herbivore, feeding on a variety of plants found in the lush forested environments that characterized much of the Cretaceous period. It would have had a beak-like mouth, capable of cutting through tough vegetation, and large, flat teeth, designed for grinding and processing plant material. Its diet may have consisted primarily of ferns, cycads, and conifers, but it could have also consumed flowering plants, depending on the availability of resources in its habitat. The shape and structure of its teeth would have allowed it to process a wide variety of plant matter, making it a versatile herbivore in a changing environment. One of the most striking features of Kuru was its relatively large, flattened skull, which was equipped with a distinctive beak-like structure. This beak would have been ideal for stripping leaves and other vegetation, a characteristic shared by many hadrosaurs. The shape of its skull also suggests that Kuru may have had a specialized feeding behavior, possibly using its beak to forage for a wide range of plant material. The large, flattened teeth further suggest that it could chew tough plant fibers efficiently, helping it process its food and extract the nutrients necessary to sustain its relatively small body. In addition to its beak, Kuru's teeth were constantly replaced throughout its life, a common trait among hadrosaurs that allowed them to cope with the wear and tear of chewing tough plant matter. While Kuru may not have been one of the most famous dinosaurs of its time, it was still a part of the larger ecosystem that shaped the world of the late Cretaceous. It would have lived in herds, a common trait among hadrosaurs, which provided protection and social structure. Herding behavior would have been an effective defense strategy, as it allowed Kuru to stay in groups that could collectively spot predators and provide protection to the younger, more vulnerable members of the herd. These herds would have roamed the Cretaceous landscape, moving from one feeding ground to the next, always on the lookout for predators like the swift Dromaeosaurus or the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, both of which posed significant threats to herbivores like Kuru. The fossil record of Kuru is sparse, and much of what is known about this dinosaur comes from partial skeletal remains discovered in various parts of the world. These fossils have been found in areas that were once lush, forested regions, rich in plant life, and suggest that Kuru lived in a varied and dynamic environment. Despite the relative scarcity of fossils, what has been discovered points to a creature that was well adapted to its environment, both in terms of its physical features and behavior. The limited fossil evidence, however, has left many unanswered questions about Kuru, and as a result, much of its life and habits remain speculative. One of the key aspects of Kuru's life was its place within the broader ecosystem of the late Cretaceous. As a herbivore, it would have been an important part of the food chain, feeding on plants and providing sustenance for the predators that hunted it. However, Kuru likely had few natural enemies among the larger carnivores, as its small size and agility would have made it difficult to catch. Instead, Kuru would have relied on its speed and the protection of its herd to avoid becoming prey. The presence of Kuru in the fossil record offers a glimpse into the complex web of life that existed during the late Cretaceous, where small herbivores played crucial roles in maintaining the balance of their ecosystems. Though Kuru may not have the fame of some of its larger, more iconic relatives, its story is one of resilience and adaptation. It demonstrates the incredible diversity of life during the late Cretaceous, a time when dinosaurs of all sizes and shapes thrived on Earth. Kuru may have been small, but it was an important part of the prehistoric world, playing a vital role in the plant-eating population of the time. The fossils of Kuru serve as a reminder that the history of dinosaurs is not just about the largest or most dangerous creatures, but also about the many smaller, lesser-known species that shaped the ecosystems of their time. In the end, Kuru may remain one of the lesser-known dinosaurs, but its unique adaptations and contributions to the Cretaceous ecosystem make it a fascinating subject for study. Its small size, herbivorous diet, and reliance on herd behavior offer a window into the complexities of life during the late Cretaceous, providing a more complete picture of the diverse and intricate world in which these extraordinary creatures lived. Part 19. Argylosaurus. In the dense, humid forests of the late Triassic period, around 220 million years ago, a small dinosaur named Argylosaurus darted through the undergrowth, its slender body designed for speed and agility. This dinosaur, whose name means agile lizard, is a prime example of the remarkable diversity that existed during the early days of dinosaur evolution. Unlike the large, lumbering giants that are often associated with dinosaurs, Argylosaurus was a small, fast-moving herbivore that lived in a world very different from the one we know today. Its fossils have been found in the late Triassic deposits of what is now China, offering a glimpse into the early days of dinosaur evolution. Argylosaurus was a relatively small dinosaur, measuring just about 2 meters in length, and it had a very lightweight, streamlined body that allowed it to move quickly through the dense vegetation. Its long, slender legs suggest that it was built for speed, able to run away from potential predators like the much larger and more dangerous Coelophysis. The long tail of Argylosaurus likely helped with balance and maneuverability as it navigated through the ancient forests, dodging obstacles and predators alike. Its light build and agile nature would have made it an efficient forager, as it could quickly move from plant to plant, feeding on a variety of low-lying ferns and other vegetation. While Argylosaurus was small and fast, its diet also played a crucial role in its survival. Unlike many of its larger relatives which were carnivorous, Argylosaurus was an herbivore, feeding on plants that were abundant during the Triassic period. Its diet would have likely consisted of ferns, cycads, and other early plant life, which were the dominant vegetation of the time. The structure of its teeth suggests that it had the ability to efficiently process plant material, likely using its sharp teeth to cut through the tough, fibrous vegetation of the time. The ability to feed on a variety of plant species would have allowed Argylosaurus to thrive in the changing environments of the Triassic period. The fossils of Argylosaurus also reveal some intriguing aspects of its physiology. The shape and structure of its teeth suggest that it had a relatively simple digestive system, which would have been efficient for processing the softer, more tender vegetation that it ate. Its long, slender legs, along with its overall body structure, indicate that it was built for quick, efficient movement. Unlike the more sluggish herbivores that came later in the dinosaur lineage, Argylosaurus would have been able to quickly escape from danger and keep itself safe from larger predators. One of the most interesting features of Argylosaurus was its posture. Unlike some of the early dinosaurs which had a sprawling gait, Argylosaurus stood more upright, much like modern birds and mammals. This more erect posture likely helped it move with greater speed and efficiency, as it could shift its weight more quickly from one leg to the other. The upright stance also suggests that Argylosaurus may have been able to move more efficiently over longer distances, which would have been important for finding food and avoiding predators. This adaptation to an upright stance was a precursor to the posture seen in many later dinosaurs, including the theropods that would eventually dominate the planet. In addition to its impressive agility, Agilosaurus also had a unique behavioral trait. It likely lived in small groups or herds. Fossil evidence suggests that Agilosaurus was social in nature, which would have offered protection against predators and allowed individuals to work together in finding food. Herds of Agilosaurus could have moved through the Triassic forests, foraging for plants while keeping a vigilant eye out for predators. This social behavior, though not as complex as that seen in later dinosaurs, shows the early development of group living in dinosaurs and hints at the social structures that would evolve in larger herbivores and carnivores in the future. Though Agilosaurus was small, it was part of a much larger and more complex ecosystem during the late Triassic. It lived alongside a variety of other dinosaurs, some of which were herbivores, while others were meat-eating predators. This complex ecosystem would have required Agilosaurus to be constantly vigilant, not just for the larger predators like Coelophysis, but also for other herbivores that could compete for the same food resources. The presence of Agilosaurus in the fossil record offers valuable insight into how early dinosaurs adapted to their environments, particularly in terms of food gathering and evasion from larger predators. The fossil record of Agilosaurus is relatively limited, but it provides valuable information about the early stages of dinosaur evolution. As one of the first dinosaurs to exhibit a fully upright posture and a fast-moving, agile build, Agilosaurus represents an important step in the evolutionary history of dinosaurs. Its small size and herbivorous diet were adaptations that helped it survive in a rapidly changing world, where the first true dinosaurs were beginning to establish themselves as dominant players in the ecosystem. Though it may not be as well known as some of the later, more famous dinosaurs, Agilosaurus was an important part of the foundation for the evolution of the larger, more complex dinosaurs that would follow. Today, Agilosaurus may remain relatively obscure in the world of paleontology, but it serves as a reminder of the early evolutionary experiments that shaped the future of dinosaurs. Its agility, small size, and herbivorous diet helped pave the way for the more familiar and iconic species that would dominate the Earth in later periods. The story of Agilosaurus is one of survival, adaptation, and innovation, reflecting the ever-changing and dynamic world of the Triassic period, a world where dinosaurs were just beginning to make their mark on the Earth. Part 20. Fukuiraptor. In the lush, verdant landscapes of the late Cretaceous period, around 115 million years ago, Fukuiraptor moved swiftly through the dense forest undergrowth. A small but formidable predator, Fukuiraptor was one of the many raptors that roamed Japan during this time, and its fossils have been found in the Fukui prefecture, hence the name. While it may not be as well known as its larger, more famous relatives like Velociraptor, Fukuiraptor holds an important place in the early evolution of raptors. Its discovery has provided valuable insights into the behavior, diet, and ecological role of smaller theropod dinosaurs. Fukuiraptor was a bipedal dinosaur, meaning it walked on two legs, and it was relatively small, measuring around 2.5 meters in length. Despite its modest size, it was a skilled predator, using its sharp teeth and powerful hind limbs to catch and subdue prey. Like many raptors, it had a curved sickle-shaped claw on each of its feet, which would have been used to grip and tear into its prey. This claw, although smaller than those of some of its larger relatives, still played an important role in its hunting strategy, allowing it to capture small animals with impressive precision and efficiency. Its diet primarily consisted of smaller vertebrates, such as lizards, amphibians, and possibly small mammals. Given its size and the environment in which it lived, Fukuiraptor likely relied on its speed and agility to catch prey, rather than strength. Fossil evidence suggests that it hunted in a manner similar to other raptors of the time, using stealth and quick movements to approach its prey and deliver a swift, fatal blow. Its sharp teeth and claws would have been well suited for dispatching small animals, and its keen sense of sight and hearing would have helped it detect potential meals in the dense forest environment. Although Fukuiraptor was small, its anatomical structure suggests it was highly agile. The long, slender legs and lightweight build of the dinosaur would have allowed it to move quickly through the underbrush, chasing down small prey or evading larger predators. The long tail of Fukuiraptor would have helped with balance and agility, allowing it to make sharp turns while pursuing its prey or navigating the forest floor. This agility would have been an important asset in the competitive environment of the Cretaceous period, where small predators like Fukuiraptor had to outmaneuver each other and larger predators to survive. What makes Fukuiraptor particularly interesting is its close relationship with other early raptors, especially those found in Asia. While Fukuiraptor itself is not as well known as the larger raptors from other parts of the world, such as Velociraptor or Dromaeosaurus, its fossils provide a crucial link in the evolutionary history of these dinosaurs. The discovery of Fukuiraptor in Japan helped paleontologists better understand the geographical distribution of early raptors, showing that they were not confined to one region but were widespread across the globe. This discovery also shed light on how these small, agile predators evolved to become some of the most successful and fearsome hunters of their time. The environment in which Fukuiraptor lived would have been very different from the arid deserts that many other dinosaurs inhabited. The forests of Japan during the late Cretaceous were dense and lush, with abundant plant life and a wide variety of animals. This environment would have supported a diverse ecosystem, with Fukuiraptor at the top of the food chain in its particular niche. The forests were teeming with life, and small predators like Fukuiraptor would have had to compete with each other for food, making their hunting skills and adaptability crucial for survival. Fossil evidence of Fukuiraptor is somewhat limited, with only a few skeletal fragments and fossils found to date. However, the fossils that have been uncovered provide valuable insights into its anatomy and behavior. The structure of its skull and teeth suggests that it was a fast, agile hunter, capable of pursuing small prey with great efficiency. The relatively short forelimbs of Fukuiraptor indicate that it was not a flyer or climber, but rather a ground-dwelling predator, relying on its speed and stealth to capture prey. Despite being relatively small compared to other raptors, Fukuiraptor likely had a significant ecological impact during its time. Its hunting style, combined with its agility and keen senses, would have made it an important predator in the ecosystems of the late Cretaceous. Small dinosaurs like Fukuiraptor were often at the forefront of food webs, controlling populations of smaller prey animals and contributing to the balance of the ecosystem. Their role in the food chain was vital, as they helped regulate the populations of other species, ensuring the stability of their environment. While Fukuiraptor may not have achieved the same level of fame as other dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex or Velociraptor, its discovery has added important layers to our understanding of theropod evolution. It provides a glimpse into the early development of raptors in Asia and offers a fascinating look at the life of a small but skilled predator that once roamed the forests of ancient Japan. Through the fossil record, Fukuiraptor continues to intrigue paleontologists and dinosaur enthusiasts alike, and its story is a reminder that even the smallest of dinosaurs can leave behind a lasting legacy. In the end, the story of Fukuiraptor is one of adaptation and survival in a dynamic and ever-changing world. It was a creature perfectly suited to its environment, relying on speed, agility, and precision to thrive in the competitive ecosystems of the late Cretaceous. While it may not be the most famous or well-known dinosaur, Fukuiraptor is a reminder that there are countless stories still waiting to be told, and that every species, no matter how small, plays a crucial role in the grand tapestry of life that unfolded millions of years ago. Part 21. Amargasaurus T. In the sun-dappled plains of ancient Argentina, amid winds that carried the whispers of prehistoric times, roamed Amargasaurus kazaui, a dinosaur unlike any other. Imagine a gentle giant whose very silhouette defies the typical image of a bulky sauropod. A long, graceful neck crowned with dual rows of slender, blade-like spines that rise like ornamental fins against the vast open sky. These spines, delicate yet imposing, caught the early morning light and cast intricate shadows over the dry, rugged terrain. They were both a mystery and a marvel, prompting questions about their purpose, whether for thermoregulation, display in social rituals, or mere decoration bestowed by the caprices of evolution. As you listen, allow your mind to wander over the ancient land, where every ray of sunlight revealed another gentle secret of this remarkable creature. Amargasaurus was not among the largest of the sauropods, yet its design was no less significant. Measuring around 10 to 11 meters in length, it possessed a build refined for steady, measured movement rather than rapid power. Its relatively light frame, in comparison to other titanic dinosaurs, suggests that survival in its arid, windswept habitat depended on endurance and balance rather than brute strength. Picture Amargasaurus moving methodically across open plains, each ponderous step a harmonious blend of elegance and persistence. The rhythmic sway of its massive neck, supported by elongated vertebrae and accented by those distinctive spines, created a soothing cadence, a natural lullaby echoing through the ancient Argentine wilderness. The twin rows of spines along its neck and back are the hallmark of Amargasaurus, and they inspire endless speculation about their functions. Some researchers propose that these spines supported a fan-like skin or a small sail, helping the animal regulate its body temperature under the harsh midday sun and cold nights. Others suggest that they served as visual signals, a way for individuals to communicate within a herd or attract a mate with subtle shifts in posture and light. Imagine these spines catching the soft glow of dusk, each ridge and curve reflecting the fading warmth of the day, forming a natural crown that sparkles in the twilight, a quiet celebration of evolutionary artistry and restraint. Beyond its remarkable appearance, Amargasaurus offers an intriguing lesson in adaptation. Though it is classified among sauropods, typically known for their enormous bulky bodies, Amargasaurus was relatively lightweight and built for long, graceful movements. Its limb bones, slender yet sturdy, were perfectly adapted to support its frame over vast distances, enabling it to traverse open plains and rugged terrain with ease. Its gait would have been slow and measured, a rhythmic, almost meditative pace that reflects the inevitability of life and the steady passage of time. Picture a world where every footfall leaves an indelible impression on the soft, ancient soil, a quiet reminder that even the grandest creatures are part of a greater, soothing cycle. The habitat of Amargasaurus was as compelling as the creature itself. In what is now the arid but once fertile regions of Argentina, ancient river systems carved through the land, supporting rich ecosystems teeming with life. Lush vegetation, from towering cycads to delicate ferns, provided a constant banquet for herbivores like Amargasaurus. This environment, punctuated by the gentle rush of water and the whisper of the wind through dense foliage, was a haven for a diversity of life. Imagine the interplay of light and shadow as the sun arcs slowly overhead, casting golden hues upon the sprawling, rugged landscape and listen to the soft, timeless murmurs of an ancient world thriving in harmony. Social behavior, too, played a significant role in the life of Amargasaurus. Fossil evidence suggests that these dinosaurs may have moved in loosely knit herds, a common strategy among herbivores to ensure safety in numbers. The collective vigilance of a herd would have helped shield individual members from the ever-present threat of predators, while the shared knowledge of migration routes and watering holes ensured that the group could persist through seasonal hardships. Envision a family of gentle giants moving together across a sprawling plain, the rhythmic pattern of their steps blending into a soothing, natural lullaby, a testament to the power of unity and the slow, enduring march of time. What makes Amargasaurus particularly enchanting is not only its physical attributes, but the mystery that surrounds its every feature. The precise function of its spines has been the subject of much speculation and scientific inquiry, inviting us to ponder the creative forces of evolution. These spines may have signaled fitness to potential mates, or they might have been an adaptation for thermoregulation in a harsh, sun-baked environment. They could even have served as a passive deterrent to predators, creating an impressive silhouette that masked its true gentle nature. Such endless possibilities kindle the imagination, evoking a sense of peace and curiosity as you lose yourself in the complexity of nature's design. In a broader context, the life of Amargasaurus reflects a time when the Earth was in a state of constant transformation. The late Cretaceous was a period marked by drastic climatic shifts, shifting continents, and the relentless reshaping of ecosystems. Amid this background of change, Amargasaurus represented stability, a graceful reminder that life adapts, endures, and beautifies even the most inhospitable landscapes. Its serene, unhurried existence, marked by slow, deliberate movements across sunlit plains, offers a powerful meditation on resilience and the quiet beauty of natural evolution. Every intricate detail of its form speaks of an evolutionary journey that is as inspiring as it is profound. Finally, as the ancient sun set over the distant past, Amargasaurus became more than a dinosaur. It became a living symbol of harmony and endurance. Its image, a silhouette of gentle strength against the vast, timeless sky, carries the weight of millions of years of evolution in its graceful arcs and steady gait. Imagine it silhouetted against a twilight horizon, its spines catching the last rays of the sun, as if to remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, beauty and grace persist. This quiet, contemplative giant offers a comforting, meditative presence, one that soothes the mind and calms the spirit, inviting you to rest as the echoes of a once verdant world wash over you. Part 22. Plateosaurus. Plateosaurus, one of the earliest large herbivorous dinosaurs, wandered the ancient floodplains of what is now Central Europe approximately 214 to 204 million years ago. Its name, derived from Greek words meaning broad lizard, points to its robust build and strong, supportive body. Imagine vast, windswept plains punctuated by low, fern-filled forests, where Plateosaurus moved in slow, measured strides. It was an animal that paved the way for later giants, moving not in haste, but with the quiet, dignified pace of a creature perfectly attuned to its environment. As the gentle sun sank over its world, each step left an indelible mark on the soft, primordial soil, whispering a story of survival and steady evolution. Standing up to 8 meters in length, Plateosaurus was built for endurance rather than speed. Its long neck allowed it to graze from a variety of vegetation, reaching high into the foliage as well as foraging low along the ground. The unique design of its skeleton, with elongated vertebrae and well-formed limbs, ensured that it could traverse vast distances in search of food and water. Picture a serene scene where this early herbivore slowly ambles through a mosaic of open grasslands and patches of dense woodland, each movement a quiet dance choreographed by the rhythm of nature itself. This measured pace reflects a life of calm persistence, a gentle endurance that speaks to the timeless song of the earth. Unlike the predators that often capture our imagination with explosive speed and ferocity, Plateosaurus was a creature of quiet strength and thoughtful adaptation. Its bulky body, though heavy, was supported by sturdy legs that provided a stable foundation for long journeys. In an era defined by drastic climatic shifts and dynamic ecosystems, these reliable creatures likely traveled in small groups, moving in harmony with the landscape to maximize access to fresh vegetation. These gatherings, observed through fossilized trackways and bone beds, suggest a social structure where the safety of numbers provided reassurance amid the uncertainties of a turbulent world. There is a reflective, almost meditative quality in the idea of gentle giants wandering the ancient earth, their slow, deliberate strides echoing the pulse of a planet in transition. The delicate balance of Plateosaurus's anatomy offers a window into early dinosaur evolution. Cell's body was neither overly specialized nor built for the rapid bursts seen in later species, but instead embodied the essential traits of adaptability. With a relatively small head on a long, flexible neck, it was perfectly designed for a life spent reaching for the tender shoots and ferns scattered across rugged, sometimes arid terrain. Its jaw was equipped with simple, leaf-shaped teeth that continually renewed, a trait that underscored its herbivorous diet. One can imagine it standing under a canopy of prehistoric ferns, slowly nipping at each green morsel as the soft murmur of an ancient river provided a soothing backdrop to its feeding ritual. In the ecosystems of the late Triassic, Plateosaurus played a critical role as both a forager and a gentle grazer, its constant movement contributing to the natural cycle of plant renewal and soil fertilization. Its feeding habits, marked by a deliberate, unhurried approach, allowed it to extract nutrients from a variety of plants, promoting the growth and sustenance of the forest floor. These interactions between herbivores and vegetation not only sustained Plateosaurus itself, but also helped maintain the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Reflect on the notion of an ecosystem where every slow, thoughtful bite contributes to a larger tapestry of life, a timeless interplay of growth and decay that mirrors the cycles within our own lives. Fossils of Plateosaurus have been discovered in several European countries, including Germany, France, and Switzerland, revealing an animal that was both widespread and adaptable. These fossil sites, often in layers of red sandstone and sediment, offer a vivid glimpse into a world of deep ancient skies and earth filled with the traces of life. The discovery of these bones, meticulously unearthed and studied over decades, not only advanced our understanding of early dinosaurs, but also whispered stories of a time when the earth itself was young and full of promise. With every skeletal fragment, we catch a glimpse of Plateosaurus's journey, a journey defined by the slow, unwavering passage of time and the quiet resilience of an evolving world. Moreover, the social behavior of Plateosaurus hints at a life where collaboration and shared vigilance were key to survival. Fossil evidence suggests that these dinosaurs may have traveled in loosely associated herds, a strategy that would have made it more difficult for predators to isolate a single individual. The idea of a herd of gentle giants moving in unison across prehistoric landscapes adds a layer of tranquility to its existence, a peaceful procession that mirrors the harmonious rhythms of nature itself. In a world full of sudden storms and the unpredictable challenges of a changing climate, the steady company of kin and the quiet assurance of community provided solace and strength, a natural lullaby that resonated across ancient plains. As the days of the Triassic slowly turned into the nights of deep memory, Plateosaurus itself became a symbol of persistence and evolutionary grace. Unlike the dramatic, fast-paced lives of the carnivores that also roamed those lands, this herbivore embodied a patient, enduring quality. Its existence reminds us that the evolutionary path does not always favor the loud and the dynamic. Sometimes the soft, deliberate beat of steady change is the true hallmark of success. The endurance of Plateosaurus through epochs of shifting climates and ecological upheavals is a quiet triumph, a testament to the beauty of gradual transformation and the gentle strength of living in tune with one's surroundings. Even in the realm of modern science and discovery, Plateosaurus remains a figure of lasting intrigue. Every new find, a fragment of bone here, an unexpected trackway there, adds to the rich tapestry of its story, deepening our understanding of how early dinosaurs interacted with their world. Its bones tell of a time when the landscape was both unforgiving and nurturing, a vivid reminder that even the simplest of creatures can leave behind a legacy that shapes the very foundations of life on Earth. The story of Plateosaurus is as timeless as it is subtle, an echo of an ancient world that continues to whisper its secrets to those willing to listen. As twilight descends upon this vision of a bygone era, imagine the slow, rhythmic pace of Plateosaurus as it ambles across the plains, its every movement a graceful ballet set against the backdrop of a slowly fading prehistoric sky. The gentle, unhurried steps of this animal, each one resonating with the echo of millions of years, offer a soothing reminder of the natural order that has persisted through the ages. In this soft dusk, the slow pace, the steady calm, and the quiet elegance of Plateosaurus become a meditative focal point for the weary mind, inviting you to relax and let the stresses of the present fade into the gentle shadows of the past. Part 23. Zuniceratops. In the sunlit valleys of what is now the southwestern United States, during the late Cretaceous, a horned dinosaur named Zuniceratops roamed the ancient floodplains, its presence both understated and enigmatic. Imagine a creature that quietly defied our typical images of the massive, fearsome ceratopsians. Zuniceratops was smaller, more agile, and possessed a charm uniquely its own. Its very name meaning Zuni horned face, a nod to the indigenous Zuni people of the region, hints at both its geographic roots and its distinctive appearance, marked by modest yet striking horns above its eyes. As you listen to these gentle whispers of prehistory, let the soft, warm light of a bygone era cradle your thoughts and guide you toward a calm, reflective state. Unlike the later giants such as Triceratops, Zuniceratops was compact, measuring roughly 2 to 3 meters in length, which allowed it to navigate the varied terrain with grace. Its size may have been unassuming compared to its more flamboyant relatives, but this very modesty in scale speaks of an adaptation to a world where subtlety was key. With a lightly built yet sturdy frame, Zuniceratops moved nimbly among low-growing vegetation and rocky outcrops, its body perfectly balanced between the need for protection and the gentle art of grazing. Picture it quietly foraging among ferns and cycads under a soft pastel sky, every step a silent testimony to survival in a delicate ecosystem. The head of Zuniceratops is one of its most distinguishing features, adorned with a pair of small, forward-curving horns above the eyes and a single knob-like structure on its nose. These features, although less pronounced than those of later, more robust ceratopsians, provided not only a means of defense, but also likely played a role in social interaction. They might have served as visual signals in the dynamics of herd behavior or as subtle tools in establishing dominance within its social group. Imagine the gentle clatter of these horns in a low, humid wind, the the soft, natural music of an ancient interconnected life. Its beak, smooth and sharply defined, was perfectly adapted for slicing through the tough, fibrous vegetation that blanketed its habitat. Uniceratops used its beak to clip off shoots and leaves from the hardy plants that dominated its environment, ferns, cycads, and the early forms of flowering plants, which dotted the landscape in delicate bursts of color. While larger ceratopsians relied on more dramatic displays of strength, Uniceratops relied on a quiet efficiency, clipping and chewing with a rhythmic steadiness that echoed the continuous pulse of the ancient earth. In this way, every bite it took was not an act of aggression, but a tender expression of life itself, a slow dance of nourishment. Living in a time of both lush growth and environmental challenge, Uniceratops likely exhibited social behaviors that enhanced its survival. Fossil evidence indicates that these dinosaurs often moved in groups, a strategy that allowed them to forage more safely in the presence of predators such as smaller tyrannosaurs and agile dromaeosaurs. The communal behavior of Uniceratops is thought to have provided not only protection but also a shared resource of collective vigilance, where each individual played a role in keeping watch for danger in a landscape that was as unpredictable as it was beautiful. Picture a serene herd moving as one across a gently undulating plain, the soft murmur of their unified footsteps blending with the breeze. The terrain in which Uniceratops thrived was a picturesque mosaic of open plains, sporadic woodlands, and meandering river channels, where the interplay of water and earth created fertile patches amidst an otherwise rugged environment. Seasonal rains would transform the dusty landscape into a vibrant tableau of green, while dry spells lent a golden hue to the plains under a vast, untroubled sky. This dynamic setting provided a continuous rhythm of abundance and scarcity, and Uniceratops was finely attuned to these cycles. Its steady movement across the land and the rhythmic cadence of its grazing painted a picture of a life in quiet accord with the natural world, a gentle balance of nurturing growth and careful conservation. The delicate craftsmanship of its skeletal structure further underscores the evolutionary ingenuity of Uniceratops. With robust yet proportionate limbs, its body was built for both stability and gentle mobility, allowing it to traverse rocky terrain and soft soils alike. The design of its pelvis and limb joints suggests an animal that could sustain long journeys, perhaps migrating between feeding grounds as the seasons changed. In a world where survival required both alertness and endurance, Uniceratops exemplified the art of living slowly and meaningfully, embodying a rhythm that allowed it to thrive among its more ostentatious contemporaries. Envision it moving steadily over a time-worn path, every motion a quiet meditation on the persistence of life. While the horns and beak of Uniceratops capture the eye, it is the overall grace of its demeanor that truly enchants. In a time dominated by dramatic displays of power, this creature moved with a subdued elegance that belied its survival in an era of giants. Its posture was upright yet unhurried, a gentle reminder that strength can be measured not only in size or ferocity, but also in the capacity to exist harmoniously within one's environment. The fossilized remains speak not of forceful battles or thunderous roars, but of a calm, steady presence, a soft rhythm that resonates through millions of years, whispering the secrets of an ancient landscape to those who listen quietly. The evolutionary journey of Uniceratops is a testament to the complexity and diversity of the dinosaur world in the late Cretaceous. Although its features seem modest when compared with later ceratopsians, it played a crucial role in the development of horned dinosaurs. Its adaptations for a particular niche, surviving in fluctuating climates and varying terrains, demonstrate how even the smallest differences in form can be profoundly influential. Each fossil discovery enriches our understanding of this gentle herbivore, deepening the picture of an ecosystem where every creature, no matter how understated, contributed to the grand mosaic of life. As you reflect on these intricate evolutionary threads, the story of Zeunoceratops unfolds like a quiet ancient ballad, both captivating and soothing. In the soft glow of prehistoric twilight, Zeunoceratops casts a long, gentle shadow over a world of subtle wonders. It invites us to reconsider our assumptions about dinosaur life, urging us to see beyond the dramatic and to appreciate the quiet persistence of nature's most unassuming creations. Its legacy, preserved in weathered bones and delicate trackways, continues to inspire a sense of mystery and reverence. For those drifting into sleep with thoughts of ancient Earth filling the mind, Zeunoceratops becomes a symbol of understated beauty and resilience, a reminder that sometimes the softest voices speak the loudest in the quiet of the night.